1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the place where you're not overly ostentatious studios of the Infinity Sports Network here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor of 345 Hudson Street. Welcome into another week and a Monday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 158, the free Odyssey app, and of course, streaming live on YouTube. 855-212-4227 is the number to jump on in. 855-212-4227. You could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter X at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB. I got Moist Mike. I got Stuart Kovacs rocking and rolling with me all the way up until 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time. We will preview the Baltimore Ravens today in our go through it all 32 teams preview, as we do continue to cross one or two teams off day by day with Kadre Ismail coming up an hour 20 from now at 4:20 p.m. Eastern. Whole lot to do. Very busy weekend. You had some USA news and results as Team USA on the men's side basketball-wise just did find a way to win by 1 point. On the women's side, you had the WNBA All-Stars that are not going to the Olympics go up against the USA national team, and the All-Star team beat the national team, which was a little bit crazy. And then Xander Schauffele won his second major championship. And isn't that funny how that works? Guy had a major monkey on his back, right? Couldn't find a way to win a major championship. Not only wins one this past weekend, but we all know he already won another one as the fourth major championship does come to a close, and he was able to snag not only the PGA championship, but also the Open Championship as well. And I even got to play some golf this past weekend. And my golf game has been a work in progress, which I think everyone's golf game has been a work in progress. But I've been struggling on the golf course. So I said, I'm going to take a few lessons because I needed a lesson. I needed to work on some mechanics. I need to swing the club better. And it's crazy after like 2 weeks of work at the range, and then also taking 2 lessons, like how instantly it could pay off. I played golf this past weekend. I didn't shoot the best I've ever shot, but I never hit the ball better than the way that I hit it yesterday when I was playing with a bunch of buddies. So I had a good weekend. Hope you had a good weekend as well. And let's get to the start of the show. And we actually commence with a confusing topic. And the reason why I say that is, if John Harbaugh didn't defend his quarterback, Lamar Jackson, and say that our goal is for him to be the greatest quarterback of all time, there's no way we would have been talking about the Baltimore Ravens today. And I don't try to pretend that talk show hosts don't do this, but you still are in the summer right now, and everyone knows that football drives the train in the national radio and TV and media landscape. So when you have a two-time MVP have a head coach say something about him, a head coach who is a top 5 coach in the sport, it's going to elicit a response. But there's sometimes things are said, and a lot of times in the NFL, everything is calculated, or most things are calculated. I don't get what the calculations were that John Harbaugh and the Ravens were doing that thought they need to publicly speak out and defend their quarterback in Lamar Jackson. I think the way people view Lamar Jackson is very simple. Great player, right? 2-time MVP now, but there is still a question on if he can win a Super Bowl. And do I think he can? Yes. And I would have said this, and I said this before last season, I thought the way that Lamar was talked about was really unfair because it was a small sample size of playoff games. But when you just did what you just did this past year, which was get the number 1 seed, have the lone bye, play a half of a game up against the Texans, and then in the AFC Championship game, when Patrick Mahomes told me afterwards he was basically playing the role of a game manager and your offense could basically do nothing, even your boy Zach Gelb, who has been defending Lamar and saying, yes, Lamar will win a Super Bowl, he can win a Super Bowl, then even I had to change my tune after the Baltimore Ravens lost to the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. Because I was at that game. And the Chiefs were practically, from an offensive perspective, begging to give the ball back to Lamar and say to Lamar, you find a way to go have your moment. We've already won enough, and you go find a way to put us in put yourself in a Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. And it's not just Lamar, and I'll get you to the comments in just a second. But also what makes me change my tune on the Ravens as well is their offensive coordinator in Todd Monken. Because a lot of times NFL teams will say, we ignore the noise. But in reality, they don't ignore the noise, and they know everything that's said about them. The Ravens made it a point of emphasis going back to this time last year to try to win a certain way. And when they were trying to win that way, it wasn't as if, we'll just win and shut everybody up. They wanted to win a certain way, and they wanted to drag everybody through the mud during that. That's been critical of the Baltimore Ravens. Because remember, like last year, they're talking about Lamar throwing for a ridiculous amount of yards. I think he said like 5,000 yards last year. And they talked about how much more they wanted to throw the football. But you could say things and you can talk a big game. But when you really get tested and when your backs are up against a wall, even if you want to try to win a certain way, you would think that you would go back to what you do best. And the Ravens just failed to do that in the AFC Championship game a year ago. And I know there's a lot of times in media where the talk show host will think he could coach the team. Like, I know for sure I can't call plays, right? I know for sure everyone in the NFL is better than every media person when it comes to actually calling the plays and running an offense. But there are moments when you watch as much football as I do and have the listeners do, where there is that moment where in a stupid way, you actually think you could do a better job than the offensive coordinator. But if I had Todd Monken's knowledge and if I knew how to physically call plays, if we could have had me basically be in the brain of Todd Monken last year, I think I would have won the game. Because my approach would have been to have Lamar run the ball more, utilize the short passing game with the running backs and the screens, and then also run the ball with the running backs. The Baltimore Ravens, they tried to win the AFC Championship game a certain way. No one cares how you win it, just as long as you do win it. And that was the part that was extremely frustrating because the game plan by Todd Monken last year in the AFC Championship game was just trash. It was. And when everyone's in the stadium, and when I'm in a press box full of media people, and we're all sitting there saying, what are the Ravens doing? It usually means then the game plan was bad. And there's sometimes, right, coaches and people that are on the sidelines see things a different way, and then we call them a genius. But that game plan was bad through the entirety of the game. And I know people say, oh, well, you wouldn't be saying that if Zay Flowers didn't fumble the ball right at the goal line. But even if they get that touchdown, or they hold on to the ball and score the next play, there's not even a guarantee that you win the game. There was still a lot to do, and you need to replicate and get better off what you were trying to do on that drive, and then you turn the ball over. So when you try to win with like arrogance, there is a very small margin of error. And when you fumble the ball right at the goal line and get the ball punched out, that's not just one thing where you say, oh, if they didn't do that, they would have won the game, because that's not true. And no one could guarantee that to you. So I have a lot of concerns now with the Ravens. Like, I think the Ravens are stuck in just being a very, very good team. They're a team, like Lamar could go win another MVP or two. Like, it's not crazy to say Lamar could go win 4 MVPs by the time his career ends. But winning more MVPs doesn't do anything for me. Like, when you win the first one, great. When you win the second one, awesome. But after that, it's about crossing off the last thing on your resume. And that's to win a Lombardi trophy. And do I think the Ravens are closer to winning a Lombardi trophy now? Not really. Because look at what happened last year for them. And I get it. They added Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is going to be sensational. That's going to be fun to watch. But just because you're a team that's fun to watch doesn't mean you're a team that's going to win. But last year, the Chiefs weren't at their best. They were still able to be better than all the rest. And not only that, you had the home road. You had home field advantage. The odds of the Ravens getting home field again are not in their favor. So it will never be easier to just get to a Super Bowl for the Ravens with Lamar Jackson, in all likelihood, last year than when they did it. Or they tried to do it and they couldn't do it. So do I think they're closer now? No, I just think they're stuck on a team that can, but a team that won't. And that's my biggest concern. I know everyone's going to look at Lamar and say, hey, Lamar's got to be better in the big games. Yeah, and half of it's on Lamar. But the other half was on the coaching staff. And did they learn anything from last year? Because Todd Monken's game plan was not good in that AFC Championship game. And now you start off the season in training camp with John Harbaugh, and no one's really talking about the Ravens. No one's really talking about Lamar. But now every show around the country is going to talk about, can Lamar Jackson win a Super Bowl? And is this the year for the Ravens? So let's hear from John Harbaugh. This is John Harbaugh saying the goal is for Lamar, and their vision is to have Lamar be viewed as the greatest quarterback ever. Listen up.
The vision for Lamar Jackson, and it's a vision, it's something you see it like it's already happened. You can see it like it's already been done. The victory has already been won when you pour into a vision. And the vision that we have together is that Lamar Jackson is going to become and be known and be recognized as the greatest quarterback ever to play in the history of the National Football League. That's the vision. It's going to happen by Lamar, his work ethic, and his brilliant talent. That's how it's going to happen.
I'm all for a coach going to bat for his guy, but did he need to go to bat for his guy here? We've had an entire offseason. After the AFC Championship game, Lamar Jackson really hasn't been talked about a lot outside of when they signed Derrick Henry. So it just seemed like it was out of place. And I hope the quarterback that you just paid, and I don't think Lamar needs the vote of confidence, but it seems like Harbaugh felt like he had to give him a vote of confidence. But what does this actually do by saying your quarterback's going to go down as the greatest quarterback ever? And he won't. Like, look how much conversation we've had about Lamar winning a title. Okay, let's say Lamar wins a Lombardi trophy this year. I'll even say, let's say this. Let's say that when it's all said and done, he wins 2 Lombardi trophies. Let me play into this game for a second. Is anyone going to get in front of a microphone and make the case that Lamar Jackson's a better quarterback than Tom Brady? No. How about Patrick Mahomes, who's already won 3 Super Bowls? If Lamar wins 2, is anyone going to get in front of the microphone and say, yeah, that Patrick Mahomes isn't better than Lamar Jackson? Lamar Jackson's the greatest quarterback ever? No. How about the great Joe Montana, who has 4 championships? So look at me being extra benevolent, where I think it's fair to question if Lamar could ever win 1. Even if he gets 1, though, no one's going to say he's the greatest ever. And I'll go to the extreme. Let's say he gets 2. No one's going to say that he's the greatest quarterback ever. So that's the part to me where I understand you want a coach that supports the quarterback and you want to go to bat for your guys. And I'm not saying you shouldn't dream big, but this is like kind of one of those moments where it's like when I was a kid and I was like, hey, I want to marry Beyonce one day. And we could all dream for things, but are they realistic? And obviously, Lamar's at least in the room. Lamar is an MVP. Lamar is great. No one's not saying that, but to be the greatest ever, that's a totally different realm. That's a totally different place. And even if, like, Lamar gets 2 championships, we're not sitting here. And let's say he gets 2 more championships and 2 more MVPs. No one's making the case that he's the greatest ever. He is not. So here's more John Harbaugh. This is the coach of the Ravens defending Lamar Jackson against the criticism.
There's a lot of stuff that's said that you got to just scratch your head about and kind of wonder, what's that person even thinking, you know? So, but we take it personally. You know, Lamar's a guy all his life. Lamar Jackson has been a guy who's been answering those same questions. I'm talking about since he was a kid, junior high, high school, college, the draft, the success he's had in the National Football League, and it still comes up.
So it was Bill Polian who was on Sirius, I'm pretty sure, and said that like Lamar should try out for a running back or a wide receiver. And I remember being on this network when that happened, and I ripped into Bill Polian, crushed him for that. And that part I agree. I always thought that was a joke. Like, I have been a huge Lamar defender. I've been a huge Lamar supporter. But what's the criticism? The criticism is a question, can he win a Super Bowl? So far, he hasn't. I was someone that said up until last year, I thought that conversation was too premature because there wasn't a large sample size. But this past year, when you have the 1 seed and you don't get the job done and you basically played 1 good half of football against the Texans, yeah. Why should then people get in front of the microphone and say Lamar will win a Super Bowl? So this whole thing to start the Ravens season, it really makes me scratch my head. And it seems like it's unnecessary. But once again, it's nice for John Harbaugh to say it, but I think it creates more problems and actually helps the Baltimore Ravens. Because anyone that is going to sit there and seriously say, hey, Lamar will be the greatest quarterback ever. Like, how many Super Bowls do you think he's going to win? How many? Because I just gave him 2, and I don't think he's going to win 2. I don't even know if he's going to win 1. But even if he wins 2, that's not going to put him in the level of Brady. It's not going to put him in the level, on the same level as a Mahomes or a Joe Montana. And that's just 3 people just for starters. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. What do you make of John Harbaugh's comments? 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. We will take a timeout. When we come on back, Jordan Love isn't holding out, but he is basically holding out. And what does this mean for Tua Tagovailoa? We'll discuss on the other side.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Infinity Sports Network.
I'm just catching up on my company email, by the way. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. So this is the latest email we just got from our office manager, Matt, who does a great job. Hello, New York team. Hope everyone had a nice weekend as getting accustomed to the new building entrance. There's a lot of renovations for people that don't know. They're getting done on the building. So where the front of the building is now not an entrance. You have to enter from behind. And it's actually a very nice entrance that is. It's actually nicer than the one that we had in the front. So it's a whole renovation. So it's actually pretty cool. I'm fine walking the extra block. That's not going to ruin my day. Please be advised that the new town hall area on the right side of our lobby is a show space for prospective tenants and reserved for booked events only. Odyssey employees and their guests are currently not permitted to eat their lunch or enter into the town hall space unless access has already been approved by the property management team. Continued thanks for everyone's cooperation, understanding during all these building transitions. If you have any questions, please let me know, and I'll bring them up to the management team. Now, Stu, I know that you just got back to the office after being out for basically 2 weeks. This was not you today that was walking in, and this is why we got this email, because you saw in the new entrance there was maybe some food, which I did not see, which shows how I am not very cognizant of the area that we're in, or alert of the area that we're in, that I didn't realize that there's free food right when you walk into the lobby.
Makes sense, though, because whenever there is free food on this floor, it goes within seconds. Yeah.
So you weren't doing a little 5-finger discount today?
I was not. I was not aware. I probably would not have anyways, but I did not notice any food when I got here 10 o'clock this morning.
Now, this may be mean of me to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. We know Peter Schwartz is never afraid to sit out something free. He was doing that media tour last week with Jeff Fisher promoting the Arena Football League since they had their championship on Friday and it was played in a mall in the swamps of Jersey. Could Peter maybe have brought in Jeff Fisher? They had like 6 or 7 people. Did Pete just assume, because you're right, whenever there's food around, it's like a free-for-all here. Did Pete just assume that food was a free game for everyone? Like, I don't think that's crazy, right?
It's not crazy at all. I think that's, I'm not going to say more than likely, but...
Like, if we put out odds right now,
yeah,
4-1 probably, he'd be the odds-on favorite.
Maybe even 3-1, yeah.
It's like Scotty Scheffler. I know he didn't win the Open Championship. It was Xander Schauffele, but now you go into like a golf tournament, his odds are like plus 350, which is just crazy to outright win. Now, the other email we got, this goes back to last week.
I saw this. This was like one of the first things I saw when I reopened my email after my week off.
The thief that we have around here?
Yes.
So I guess there is someone stealing office supplies. Now, like, let's just be real. Is this just that there was like a stapler and someone didn't put it back, or, there's a Sharpie that someone didn't put back, or like some printer paper that maybe someone took? Like, office supplies to me is very vague. For example, if there was an entire cabinet of office supplies missing, then fine. But if it's just like a few things, I don't know if that's that big of a deal. But here are the other things that people or someone was supposedly stealing around here. Loose change. Like, is someone going on someone's desk, and if someone has like quarters or like dollar bills, like taking that, right? Like, if you leave 25 cents in the newsroom, you would anticipate that it's like, we don't have assigned desks or anything. In the sales pit, they do. So loose change to me is also very vague. Here are the two, though, that I think are an issue. Bottled drinks taken from someone's office fridge. Let me be the one to say, you're very scummy if you're going into someone's office, opening up their fridge, and then taking their bottled drinks. That is a thief. Here's the last one, though. Do you know my connection to this one? The last item I'm going to name. Desk fan. Now, I'm reading someone stole someone's desk fan. And I didn't think much of it. But a week ago, I got a text from my father. This week before the email sent out, he goes, "Did you go to my desk and steal my desk fan?" So I read this email. I didn't think much of it. And then that light bulb, when I was just sitting around doing nothing, went off. Desk fan. Wait, they're talking about my father's desk fan. So I guess someone went to my old man's desk, and trust me, he needs a desk fan. He's a very, very sweaty individual. And someone took his desk fan. I almost wanted to, like, Ari Gold style, because he was around here last week, like walk into the sales pit with like a paintball gun and start like intimidating people and asking like, who stole my father's desk fan? So I would like to know who took my father's desk fan.
That's a bizarre item to steal, a desk fan.
You have a locker here, right?
I do, yes.
I guess we got to start locking everything up.
Yeah.
Not that I have much. Like, I have a portable microphone, probably some like old bills that I paid I just never threw out like in my locker. Like, you want to go steal things from my locker, you're not walking away with many great memorabilia items.
I think I have like 5 things in my locker.
Yeah. So that's what's going on right now in this office. Will there be an update? So this email was sent 5 days ago. Will there be an update? Like when they catch the thief, do you think we'll get an email on who the thief was and publicly shame that person?
Because it did say, I don't have it on me, but it did say like there'll be like a investigation of some sorts. I don't know if there's like cameras they can look at or people they can ask questions to, people who are here maybe like later at night, like when there's no one here. I don't know. Because you'd have to think it's someone either on the weekend or at night because they're not going to do this while the office is full.
All right, I'm just going to put you on the spot here.
Okay.
You had to take one guess who the thief is in this office. Who do you think the thief is?
Of someone that we know.
At 345 Hudson Street.
Wow.
If you just have a guess, just one guess.
Do you want to know the first name that came to mind?
Yeah, go ahead.
Shep.
Shep?
That was the first name that came to mind.
Wow. I was going to say Hickey. It's always the people you don't expect it.
I don't think Hickey would steal something.
I don't know. A little loose change, go get a little snack from the machine. Hickey always has to make sure that hair is standing high. That's why he would steal my father's desk fan.
You make a good point.
Just saying. Marco, put you on the hot seat here. Welcome into a Monday. Who's the thief in our studios, in our company, you think?
Is it definitely a thief? Have we really kind of ruled out just coincidence? Things get moved, things get shifted around because nobody pays attention.
So office supplies, I don't think someone's stealing office supplies. I just think someone probably took.
What's what I'm saying? We talk about pens,
like
we're talking about
Scotch tape
staple.
and didn't put it back.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's
Loose
just
change,
absent-mindedness.
It's like,
loose
okay,
change, it's screwed up, but people do that stuff. It's wrong, but people do that.
I may sound like a jerk. I hate when I get dollar bills. I like back. Like when I get back like a dime or a quarter or a nickel, it's like obnoxious now.
So that's where we are now? You're that high and muddy and you don't need it?
But it
if that's the case, then you know what? There's usually a tip jar. Throw it in there. How about that?
Oh, I usually do that.
Okay.
But guys, 75 cents if we're close to $1, sure, maybe I'll keep it.
I'm just saying, if you toss it on your desk and there's just loose change there, it's wrong, but I could see somebody having the same attitude as you. They obviously don't want it. I need 10 cents to eat tonight. I'm going to take 10 cents. It's messed up, but I understand.
Bottled drinks and a desk fan. That's... Bottled drinks taken from someone's office fridge, that's bad.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think in Boomer's estate, he's keeping track of whatever beverages he has in his fridge. But if someone, let's say, went into Boomer's office and took 8 bottles
no, I get that. But you're
energy drinks, that's kind of
But are we talking about that little fridge that we have over there? And that's something where it's the...
You talking about the communal fridge?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is it the communal fridge and it's
it says taken from someone's office fridge.
Well, an office fridge is messed up. You shouldn't be in the office.
Exactly.
If it's the communal and it's a closed bottle of an energy drink that are going around the office and they're all free, then I understand it. That makes total sense.
I've taken those.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's,
they're
around the office. They're all over the place. They're basically begging you to take
But
them.
I think it's pretty clear what is there for the taking and then what is not.
Usually.
I think it's pretty obvious. I think the desk fan is the biggest one.
A desk fan was taken from someone's desk.
It's my father's desk.
Okay. And it's definitely not around the office. It's not like it didn't get moved by a cleaning person from one section to another. We don't know that.
I know my dad's getting old and a little forgetful, so I was wondering, did you just misplace it?
Well,
he claims he did not.
That's different. That's that between you and your father. I'm talking about. I mean, it could easily, if you're talking about cleaning the desk.
There's a political joke here that I'll
there's a lot of different cleaning people that go through the offices, and they could take it to clean and absentmindedly
a desk fan to clean. Oh, you mean they're cleaning the desk?
Yeah,
gotcha.
and they just take it and throw it on the side, and they don't realize they don't put it back.
So that's my point. Do I need to interrogate my dear friend Denny who cleans the office here?
No, because that's not necessarily Denny. That's my point, because we've had a lot of different people going through the office. It's summertime. There's a lot of vacations. There's a lot of new people. Things like that can get misplaced.
The funniest thing, though, my dad a week ago texted me. He goes, take my desk fan off my desk. And I didn't even think twice of it. And then I see this email. And then I didn't think twice of it there. And then boom, I'm sitting around this weekend, and that's when I said, it was my father's desk fan.
So he's very attached to this fan, huh? That's
hey, Bob Gelb sweats. You could drop him in Antarctica. He'd be sweating, okay?
This is a big, giant, industrial fan?
I have no clue, but I did tweet out when I realized that it was his fan. I went on Google Images, and I just searched desk fan. And I said, just found this nice desk fan. Anyone want to buy it?
This is where we are. This is what we're doing.
Jay Spence on Twitter says, I've heard Maggie and Perloff talk about this as well. I think it was Perloff because he did say he drinks one soda that was in the break room. Which, if it's in the break room, that's fair.
That's what I mean. Like if it's a communal fridge and it's a drink that's closed. Now, I wouldn't grab one that's not mine unless it's something that goes through. We do have stuff that goes through the office that's free for everyone.
Yeah.
And they wind up in the fridge. People want them cold. You don't want it out. If you just leave that.
Corner.
Yeah, but I'm saying if you leave that and it's free for everyone, I get it. You don't have a name on it. People are just going to grab it because it's free in the office. Why isn't it free in the fridge? It's the same concept.
Yeah.
But if it's a different kind of drink, it's different. I mean,
there are a few of the items where I'm like, it doesn't sound like we have a thief. But then the last two items, that sounds very thiefish. It could be Boyle. Remember Boyle when he first got here, sleeping overnight and went into Boomer's office and cracked open a beer in Boomer Esiason's office. Now, he admitted to it.
I was going to say.
And he's come a long way.
He has come a long way, and I think he realized the error of his mistake there. Not only the thievery in that regard.
His douchiness.
It was the more of the way he wrote the note where he wanted the attention.
It's like a ransom note.
That I think he realized, that I shouldn't do that. I think we've grown from that situation.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll be on the look.
I'll take a look because I'm one of the few that's
you're here late.
I'm here different times of the day.
I do call you El Capitan because I think you're the locker room leader around here.
I'll say this. At night, I mean, there's literally like 4 human beings here.
But here's the thing.
I find it hard to believe any of them are doing because nobody goes back there.
You've been in now. You're like an enforcer around here. You've been in a lot more during the day with Act being out. Maybe the guard at night has fallen off a little bit. The people here, because they're not intimidated by Marco being in the room anymore.
Yeah, again, there's like 4 people at night, so I find it hard to believe. Now that
Paul
makes
Rosenberger gets stealing a bunch.
That makes it where it's easy. But I got to tell you, I mean, when I tell you Ghost Town, there's really like 4 people here. So the idea of anybody going back there, you would get noticed simply because you're a human. Like, what are you doing here? That's basically what it comes down to. So I struggle with that. I feel like it's easier to do in the hustle and bustle. It's almost like in New York City. You can kind of get away with it. You try to do something where you're in the middle of nowhere, people are going to find you.
So what I gather here from your intel or your speculation, it's probably someone then during the day and maybe someone that's getting a little too comfortable around here and just think they could run
Could
the
be.
place.
I got to be fair.
All right, Bogus, return that stapler, all right?
Maybe I'm being naive here, and that's usually not something in my forte. I feel like this is absent-mindedness of things that just get moved around because people don't pay attention to what the hell they're doing. That's what I feel like this is. If you're telling me it's something of value,
sure,
then I'm listening. We're talking about 15 cents, a pen, and a fan? That's not something where, I'm going to take that. Like that. I feel like we're delving into the stupidness of the office, not the thievery.
$763 right now. You can get a full desk fan. USB, by the way. USB desk fan.
$7.36.
$7.63.
Oh, $7.63.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I mean. So is this a lucrative thing? No. Add that to the change in the drink. What are we talking about? $8.50?
I'm just surprised that my dad actually reached out to someone and told him that his desk fan was missing.
He's obviously very attached to that fan.
Yeah.
Very attached.
I may have to sit him down and have a talk.
Well, I
may have to cool him off a little bit. Tell him everything's going to be all right.
Well, he doesn't have his fan.
Well, that's why. Maybe get him an adult beverage from someone's fridge. Tell him to cool off a little bit. All righty, we'll take a break. We'll come on back. We're talking Jordan Love being at practice but not practicing and what it means for Tua Tagovailoa. Here is the latest update with El Capitan and maybe the guy that's stealing a desk fan. You do look a little sweaty today.
Yeah. That's what I need. I need a desk fan and I need 64 cents. Tremendous. That'll get me over the hump.
And an energy drink. Here he is, Marco Paletti.
Those I need.
Infinity Sports Network. Sports Flash.
Zach, sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Protect your family, your phone, and your furry friends with Life electronic device and pet health insurance. Aaron Rodgers caught some heat with a pair of unexcused absences from mandatory minicamp in June, but Rodgers explained the situation and why this isn't what it seemed.
There used to be a real thing called minicamp where it was you had one of them usually. Sometimes it was right after the draft, but either way, it was 5 practices in 3 days. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So 2 practices on Friday, 2 on Saturday, 1 on Sunday. Now it's not minicamp. They can arbitrarily put a tag on whatever week of OTAs they want. So this is the mini camp week, which makes it somehow more mandatory than the other weeks.
That courtesy of the Part of My Take podcast. Meanwhile, Jordan Love wants to get paid, won't practice until an extension is done, but GM Brian Gutekunst's optimistic it'll get done soon.
Yeah, I think so. But again, you never know. I mean, we're working really hard to get that done. I think it's really important for us.
Baseball, you got the Yankees in front of the Rays 6-1. They're in the bottom of the 8th. Carlos Rodon, 1 run, 2 hits over 7 with 10 strikeouts. Yankees using the homer ball, including Juan Soto. He's got a couple of hits. I'm Marco Belletti.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on X and like us on Facebook. Our handle is @INF Sportsnet on X and INF Sportsnet for Facebook.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Infinity Sports Network.
And it's time to ask the pros, where you, the listener, gets to ask us a question. It's brought to you by our friends at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Simply tweet your question at INF Sportsnet or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag Ask the Pros. Be listening later in the program. We might answer your question. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. All right, let's get to Brian Gutekunst. This is him revealing some news today about Jordan Love. Listen up.
Saturday night, they kind of informed us that until we get something done that he would not practice. So unless something gets done here before, practice starts here pretty soon, he will not be practicing. But again, I think this is something we're all working on, and we certainly understand where he's coming from. We'd like him to be out there. It's important for him to be out there. Obviously, you guys know how important practice is, and working with his teammates. So, but as of now, until we get that resolved, he will not be practicing. He'll be taking part in. He reported last week. He's taking part in everything else.
This whole thing's just bizarre. And it's the new era of holding out, but not actually holding out like the old school definition of holding out. Like if this was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, Jordan Love would not even be in the building. He wouldn't be. But Jordan Love, because he's trying to be a good quarterback, but is also listening to his team and, I'm talking about his agents and stuff. He's trying to get paid. He is going to the facility and he's participating in meetings. He just won't take the field in actual drills and actually be practicing with the Green Bay Packers until this deal gets done. If we didn't know the history about the Packers and Jordan Love, and also as it pertains to going back to Aaron Rodgers too, I would probably crush Jordan Love for this decision. And you're allowed to operate how you choose to do, and then there's a reaction to it. Sometimes it's positive and sometimes it's negative. But I'm thinking about this from a leverage standpoint, and this is why I'm not going to crush Jordan Love. What leverage do the Packers have? Brian Gutekunst was the one, in an unnecessary time, not only drafted Jordan Love, but traded up for Jordan Love. And Jordan Love has been a good soldier for the first few years, never spoke out of turn, never spoke out of line, and it was a very intense situation with Aaron Rodgers. And Jordan Love last year had a very strong second half of the season, not only had the Packers in the playoffs, but they won a playoff game just destroying the drama Dallas choking Cowboys. And it lines up with how long it took for Jordan Love to get on the field, and then they kind of reworked that contract where he's an unrestricted free agent next year. So is anything going to happen this year where the Packers go, yeah, Jordan Love's not our guy? Like, even if Jordan Love gets hurt, God forbid, or even if Jordan Love sucks this year, the Packers are going to have to pay him, and the Packers are going to have to bring him back next year. Because he already gave people a half-season sample size, but you could walk away from that saying, wow, Jordan Love can be the guy. And a lot of people are very optimistic on Jordan Love. And then also, Gutekunst let's say at the end of the year, for some crazy reason, which it won't be the case, he's like, yeah, we didn't pay Jordan Love. We don't want Jordan Love. Then why should you still be employed? Because you expedited the departure of Aaron Rodgers. Then your replacement has to work. And if your replacement doesn't work, not only should you be out of a job, Matt LaFleur should be out of a job. So I'm at a point here where I didn't think Jordan Love was going to make this messy. It is messy right now, but I don't think this is a mess that's going to spill over into multiple weeks. Like by the end of the week, maybe even as soon as tomorrow. Like, does anyone anticipate that Jordan Love's not going to get this deal hammered out with the Packers? Like, they got to be close. I think this is just, they're crossing the T's, they're dotting the I's, and they're negotiating over minor things. But Jordan Love's going to get a deal that exceeds $50 million a year. But my biggest takeaway from this actually has nothing to do with Jordan Love. Look at this offseason. And I'm just going to use two examples here. Trevor Lawrence got paid. Trevor Lawrence had a hellacious year number 1. Then in year number 2 was very good. And then year number 3 regressed because of an injury. He just got paid a ridiculous contract. Now you have Jordan Love, who had a good half of a season. And I believe in Jordan Love. But after a good half of a season, he's not holding out because he's showing up. So what is it? It's holding in now? That's what he's going about. If I'm Tua Tagovailoa, I'm playing the Jordan Love playbook here. I'll show up to training camp. I'll be there for the meetings. But you want me to get my ass on the practice field and actually participate in drills? I ain't doing it. That's what I would do with Tua. Because if Trevor Lawrence already got paid, Tua deserves to get paid. And let me be clear. I've been someone that's been saying, I don't think Tua should get paid yet. I didn't think Trevor Lawrence should have got paid yet. Personally, I don't think Jordan Love should get paid yet. But it doesn't matter if Zach Gelb, the talk shows, doesn't think you should get paid. It's will you get paid. Lawrence already got paid. And once that Lawrence domino falls, what leverage do the Packers or do the Dolphins have over Jordan Love and Tua Tagovailoa? Especially the Packers. Like the Packers have no leverage. Gutekunst's guy is Love. Love just exceeded year 1 expectations. His contract's up at the end of the year. He absolutely is going to get paid. This just puts the pressure now on the Packers to get this deal done in the next few days, maybe even as soon as tomorrow. But Tua should follow this. Because if Love gets paid and Lawrence gets paid in the same offseason, and the Dolphins are like, hey, Tua, just show up, and then maybe we'll move on from you at the end of the year, which they probably won't, then Tua would be a fool to play this year. And I know that it's not going to go to that extreme, because it never usually goes, it rarely goes to that extreme. Like Le'Veon Bell was someone that recently sat out, and that didn't do him any favors. And we're talking about the quarterback position. But you see how many guys are jumping to the front of the line. And I don't even think Tua's all that great. I just think he's a good quarterback. And I do think he needs to prove that he could replicate what he did last year and improve off this. But does he really need to even do that? Like how I would run a team, that's how I would do it. But once Trevor Lawrence gets his deal after one good year, which wasn't even his most recent year, and now Love's going to get a new deal off a half-good season, it's like, dude, Tua, if you have any pride, and not only just pride, like common sense, and if you're seeing all these other guys getting paid, and you could craft your own argument here, why you're deserving of getting paid, if Trevor Lawrence is getting paid and Jordan Love, who will inevitably get paid, and I'm not even saying Tua's going to be better than those guys when it's all said and done, but what Tua did last year, even though I don't think he's a top 5 quarterback, he had statistics in categories that make him look like he's a top 5 quarterback. So if he does that and doesn't get a new contract, well, then why was Trevor Lawrence able to get one? Why was Jordan Love inevitably he'll get one? So my first mindset just goes to Tua, and I was under the belief that the Dolphins weren't going to get a new deal done with Tua Tagovailoa before the start of the season. But quite frankly, with how this is playing on out, with Lawrence already getting that deal, and I don't think anyone's reacting to the news today saying, Jordan Love's not going to get a new deal before the start of the season. So if we could just assume that Love was going to get a new deal, then Tua, like, what are you doing? Because you need to then go get a new deal. And I know that could be uncomfortable and you don't like the way that it's portrayed, but is anyone slamming Jordan Love today? I don't think so. Doesn't feel that way. It's okay. Love's showing up. He's just not participating in the actual practice until he gets paid. And he's going to end up winning because he's going to get paid. So Tua, I would just mimic basically this Jordan Love playbook. Because Love has the leverage on the Packers. Tua, you have the leverage on the Dolphins unless you actually think that the Dolphins are going to seriously move on from you after this year. And if they do, who are they moving on for? Are they trading for Kirk Cousins? No. You think they're going to go get a deal done for Dak Prescott? No. So I'm at a point now where I'll change my prediction. I'll say Tua, if he plays it right, which he just did what Jordan Love did, it's a copycat league, then you will have Tua Tagovailoa also getting a new contract before the start of the season. All righty, this is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We have a preseason Big Ten media poll to react to on the other side with Big Ten Media Days getting underway. And you have the ACC Media Days that did kick off today. Can the ACC get more than one team in the college football playoff? And we'll also give you one reaction to the Big Ten preseason poll as we look at now all their 18 teams and how they were ranked. We're coming on back. Hour number 1 in the books. It is the Zach Gelb Show right here on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
All righty, away we go. Hour number 2 of our radio program. That's right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. You know, I see this graphic every year, and I didn't know who was behind the graphic. But USA Today Sports, they release their team-by-team predictions all in one graphic. So they go through all 32 teams' records, and they'll tell you who's going to make the playoffs. Like, pretty typical stuff. But I always see, for some reason, I didn't even know it up until this year, that USA Today is behind this. I just saw this during the break. Stu, entertain me here for a second, and we'll get to the college football in just a bit. Who do you think USA Today had winning the AFC West, your division with your Raiders in it?
Have to go with, unfortunately, the Kansas City Chiefs.
That would be correct. That's the toughest prediction that you probably ever had to make. They had the Chiefs being 13-4. Let me then ask you this. Do you think that USA Today predicted there would be another AFC West team above 500 this year?
I'll say no. I would say the Chargers at 8-9.
They had the Chargers at 9-8.
Okay.
Not making the playoffs. Your Raiders, what do you think they predict? How many wins for your Raiders do you think they predicted?
6.
Yep, 6-11, and then the Broncos 4-13. The AFC North, who do you think they had winning the AFC North?
Ravens.
No.
Bengals.
Yes, Bengals at 11-6. Now, I told you already the Chiefs are in from the AFC West. The Bengals are in from the AFC North. So you still have 3 wild card spots up for grabs, and then you would know that there's already 2 other division winners, right?
Right.
That we haven't got to yet. How many other teams do you think from the AFC North, according to USA Today, are going to make the postseason? With the Bengals winning the division at 11-6. So how many others out of the other 3 teams, the Ravens, the Steelers, and the Browns?
I'll say 1.
You are correct. Which one do you think it is?
Ravens.
Incorrect.
Really? Wow.
They have the Browns and the Ravens both going 10-7. And the Browns getting in and the Ravens out on a tiebreaker.
Interesting.
They had the Steelers at 9-8. Now, the AFC South. How many playoff teams do you think from the AFC South? You have 1 wild card off the board and obviously 2 more division winners. So a division winner, then how many wild card teams do you think?
I would think just 1 from the South, but I'm kind of thinking maybe because it's just 1 from the North, I think there might be 2 from the South.
2 teams total from the South.
Yes.
1 is the division winner.
Yes.
And then 1 is a wild card team. Do you think you could name those 2?
Texans as the division winner and Colts as the wild card?
Colts is the division winner. They have the Colts going 11-6, and then the Jaguars going 10-7.
Oh my God!
And the Texans out of the playoffs at 9-8, Tennessee at 6-11. Who do you think USA Today has winning the AFC East?
I think they go with the Bills.
They had the Jets, 12-5. The Bills being 10-7. And then the Miami Dolphins being 8-9. You know what? I think most people are going to see this. And their three biggest reactions are going to be, how don't you have the Ravens in the playoffs? How don't you have the Texans in the playoffs? And how don't you have the Dolphins in the playoffs? The AFC is so loaded going into the year. I don't think that's how it's going to play out. But if you tell me that you have some really good teams missing the playoffs, like the Ravens, the Texans, and the Dolphins, it wouldn't be crazy. You know, over the weekend, since we're pretty much in training camp mode, I said, let me just jot down my pre-training camp predictions in the AFC and the NFC. And I'll give you the NFC. We'll do this exercise in just a second and see who I have in, who I have out right now. So the AFC East, I ended up picking the Buffalo Bills to win the division. The AFC North, I went with the Cincinnati Bengals. The AFC South, I did go with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the Kansas City Chiefs winning the AFC West. And right now, my wild card teams were the Ravens, the Jets, and the Texans. So when I compare that to USA Today, I didn't have the Browns, I didn't have the Colts, and I think that's it. We were in lockstep with everybody else. So there's 7 playoff teams in the AFC, and I'll give you the order. Chiefs 1, they had the Jets 2, the Colts 3, the Bengals 4 as your division winners. They had the Bills as the first wild card, the Jaguars as the second wild card, and then the Browns as the third wild card. So that's how USA Today did it. And mine were the Bills, Bengals, Jaguars, Chiefs division winners, Ravens, Jets, Texans on the wild card. Now in the NFC, Stu, USA Today, who do you think they had winning the NFC West?
49ers.
Yes, at 13-4. Do you think they put another NFC West team in the postseason?
No.
Wild card spot.
No.
They did. They put one.
Rams
At 10-7.
Yeah, that's the one I was kind of thinking of maybe.
They had the Cardinals at 7-10, which would be a solid season for the Cardinals. They had the Seahawks falling to 5-12. Who do you think they had winning the NFC North?
Probably the Lions.
That's what I would think, too.
Yeah,
they had the Packers. Not only the Packers winning the NFC North, USA Today has the Packers going 13-4. Go, Pack, go! Out of the 3 remaining NFC North teams, Vikings, Lions, Bears, how many NFC North teams making the wild card?
2.
Yeah. Lions at 11-6, and the Bears squeezing in at 9-8. NFC South, 1 playoff team. Who do you think it was?
Falcons.
Yes, they had the Falcons going 9-8, which would be so NFC Southy. And then NFC East.
So just 1.
Just 1.
Yeah.
Who do you think it is?
Eagles. Cowboys out.
Did I have the same? I didn't have the same order here, but I had the same 7 teams as USA Today. I have the Eagles winning the NFC East right now. I have the Lions winning the North. They had the Packers. I had the Falcons winning the South and the Niners winning the West. And then my wild card teams, Rams, Packers, and Bears. Now, I didn't do an order, but the way that they ordered it was Niners 1, Packers 2, Eagles 3, Falcons 4, Lions 5, Rams 6, and then the Bears, and it's 7. So USA Today, thinking how I'm thinking, and I said the Cowboys would go 9-8 and miss the playoffs. That the Cowboys are going to be underachieving a little bit this year with all the drama with that football team. Anyway, just thought that was interesting from USA Today. Wanted to share that. All righty, ACC Media Day is underway. This is what's funny to me. Everyone talks about more access to the college football playoff because you've gone from 4 to 12. And I've made it clear, just because there's more access to the college playoff, I don't think it increases the amount of teams that could actually win a championship. Like, you get in, be 11th or the 12th seed. Do I think you're going to win a championship? No. Do you have probably a realistic chance to win a championship? No. Can you sell it? Can you recruit, in recruiting say, you could go compete for a championship because we're one of the 12 teams that got in and technically you're competing for a trophy? Sure. But I said this last week and I'll say it again. I don't think 4 teams, only 4 teams right now, I think, can win the college football playoff this year. And those 4 teams were Georgia, Ohio State, Texas, and Oregon. If I had to give you a 5th, I'd probably still go Alabama. But those are the 4 that I thought could only win. So you look at the ACC. They get 1 spot, or they'll have 1 spot guaranteed because they'll be one of the 5 highest ranked conference champions. But after that, so you get 5 of the highest ranked conference champions. The 4 of the highest ranked conference champions get a bye. The 5th one could be seated anywhere else between 5 through 12. Outside of that 1 team that's guaranteed in the ACC, I don't think another team from the ACC is going to get in, Stu. Now, Stu, I know you're a Notre Dame fan, and Notre Dame has a partnership with the ACC, but they're not a full member of the ACC.
Yeah, they can't get one of the buys, even if they, whatever they do.
So they can't get a bye. So I'm not going to sell it as if Notre Dame gets in, the ACC got 2 in. That's disingenuous. But I'm looking at the ACC right now. Outside of the guaranteed spot, are they going to have another top 12 team? Like, it feels like to me, and we talk about the haves and the have-nots. Yes, there's other spots for the have-nots to get into the college football playoff. But when you get into those wild card spots, not reserved for the conference champions, isn't it just going to be all Big Ten and SEC? Like, maybe I think it's more likely the Big 12 sends 2 teams than the ACC. Like, I'm going to the ACC right now. All right, Boston College, Bill O'Brien's there. Cal, who cares? Clemson, they could win the ACC. Duke, we'll see what Manny Diaz and maybe Malik Murphy looks like this year. Florida State, expected to win the ACC. Georgia Tech, Louisville had a good year with Jeff Brom last year. Miami, big year for Mario Cristobal. NC State, North Carolina, Pitt, SMU, Stanford, Syracuse, Fran Brown, the new coach there, Virginia. A lot of people are saying Virginia Tech could be a dark horse team. Now, maybe it's Virginia Tech and Wake Forest. Like, I'm going through the standings right there. Stu, I'm just doing it based off feel. It seems like whoever wins the ACC is in. The others, they're not going to be there. They're not going to be the 12 teams in the college football playoff. I'd be very surprised by that, Stu. If the ACC gets 2 teams in. I feel like the Big 12, who has, I don't know, like Utah is the best team on paper in the Big 12. I don't think the Big 12, though, necessarily has any great teams. I feel like they just have a bunch of very good teams. And I would think it's more likely the Big 12 sends 2 than the ACC, but in all likelihood, I think it's the 5 conference champions and everything else is going to be Big 10 and SEC. That's just the way that I feel about it. And then I also saw that the Big 10 put out their preseason media poll. So 18 schools now in the Big 10, which is just bizarre to see when you actually see this on a graphic. The way that they predicted the top 4 was the same way that I thought it was going to go out, which we talked about last week. Ohio State's 1, Oregon's 2, Penn State's 3, and Michigan's 4. And I think a lot of people are going to say, Zach, you have Michigan finishing behind Penn State. Don't you love Michigan? You can't stand Penn State? Sure, but I'm objective. Michigan, to me, is going to have a great defense with Johnson and Graham again and some of those other players on, for that defense. Their defense, I don't know what to expect out of their offense. Alex Orji, we got to see him throw the football. Donovan Edwards is really good, but he had a great championship game. He didn't have a good regular season last year. He was better 2 years ago in the regular season. And there is some coaching familiarity, even though a lot of the staff has changed because you still have Sharon Moore there. But I think the Big Ten, I think they got the Big Ten teams 1 through 4 right. I'm fascinated to see who's going to be the 5th team, though, in the Big Ten. And they put Iowa 5. Like, that's probably a safe bet. Iowa always has a good defense. It seems like they always win under Kirk Ferentz 8, 9, or 10 games, but their offense is non-existent and just boring. Like, I'm just going to say it how it is. If Iowa's the 5th best team in the Big Ten, it's just boring to me. And it doesn't do anything for me. Like USC, I wonder if USC, because it's weird. USC, the last 2 years, right? In year 1, they lose in the Pac-12 championship game with Caleb Williams and Lincoln Riley. Last year, their defense was terrible, and they weren't even competitive in the Pac-12. Like, they're now ranked 6th in the Big Ten. I know Lincoln Riley can recruit, but like, I don't feel like going in that most people think USC is the 6th best team in the Big Ten. So they could overachieve this year because now everyone's like off on them, or a lot of people are out on them, or maybe not according to this poll. And maybe they end up having like a solid season that's better than what people anticipate. The 2 schools I really look at, and they're 2 big brands, It's Wisconsin and Nebraska. And Wisconsin's picked to finish 7th, respectively, and Nebraska 8th. Wisconsin has Luke Fickell. We saw what Luke Fickell was able to do at Cincinnati, where he took them to a college football playoff in a 4-team format. Van Dyke is expected to be their quarterback coming over from Miami. I don't love him, but I think Wisconsin's going to take a big step this year defensively. But I look at Nebraska, and Nebraska last year, they felt a lot like Iowa, where their defense was awesome and kick-ass in year one under Matt Rule, but the offense had no resemblance of what a Division I offense should look like. I watched so much of Nebraska last year. I can't tell you how many times they had a lead in the fourth and their quarterback, interception, fumble, running back, fumble. It was crazy. Now, they got a guy who's supposed to bring the program back, and we know what his father did, and his uncle is on the coaching staff, and Dylan Raiola, who they got from Georgia. And he's supposed to go to Georgia and then ended up saying, no, I'm going to go to Nebraska. I would think he starts week one. I hope he starts week one. It would be exciting if he starts week one. But schedule does matter. Like, you look at the Nebraska schedule. Here's the schedule. UTEP, Colorado week 2. That's a good test to see how much you've grown from last year to this year because you lost them last year. Northern Iowa, Illinois, Purdue, Rutgers, Indiana, Ohio State, UCLA, USC, Wisconsin, and Iowa. So Nebraska this year avoids Oregon, Penn State, and Michigan. You know, they're not going to beat Ohio State. And the last 3 weeks of the season, that's a good stretch for them. USC, Wisconsin, Iowa. If they could take care of business from UTEP on August 31st to UCLA on November 2nd with like only a loss or two on that schedule at most, and then you take 2 out of 3 to end the season? Like, I'm not saying Nebraska's going to only lose 3 games this year, but we're talking about the 5th spot. I don't think it's crazy to say Nebraska in year 2 of Matt Rule could be the 5th best team in the Big Ten. So I think, you know, for college football, if you're looking for who's going to be the 5th team in the Big Ten, like, if you're a betting man, you want to be safe, you know, not taking the best odds, probably Iowa's the safe play. And I know Wisconsin, Nebraska is not that far behind, or 7 and 8, but I think it'd be fun for college football with Fickell and Rule both going to year 2 with big brands in Wisconsin, Nebraska. If they could overachieve a little bit here and crack that top 5 and get that 5th spot inside the Big Ten. I don't think either are going to the college football playoff, to be clear, because you get the 5 reserve spots, and then you got 7 left after that. So from 7 teams remaining for those wild, it's probably what? 3 to the Big Ten, 4 to the SEC, or reverse that? So maybe the 5th best team in the Big Ten can get to the college football playoff. But I would be surprised if we see 2 from the ACC. I'd be surprised if you see 2 from the Big 12. I think it's more likely 2 from the Big 12 than the ACC. But Notre Dame then is that wild card factor because they're not considered really any conference. So then from 7 wild card spots, you could have 1 get taken up by Notre Dame with Marcus Freeman now in a big year. And then it could be 3 and 3 for those remaining wild card spots. Just something I was thinking about. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll talk Baltimore Ravens next. We will cross them off our preview list as we get through all 32 teams. Kadri Ismail will join us on the other side.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Football season is right around the corner.
Holding himself, runs to the left, he's to the 5, Lamar's in, touchdown Ravens! They're going to have a championship game in Baltimore because the Hayes Lamar!
Will it be your team's year to hoist the Lombardi?
In the shotgun, Mahomes, he runs and he throws, caught, touchdown, it's caught, Hardman caught the ball, the Chiefs have won, the Chiefs have won, the entire bench empties, chasing Mahomes in the end zone. Their third Super Bowl in 5 years.
We preview all 32 teams right here on the Zach Gelb Show. The Baltimore Ravens.
All righty, let's preview the Baltimore Ravens. You heard it in the clip. They did make the AFC Championship game a year ago. They had a home AFC Championship game, and they lost to the eventual Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. Let's welcome in Qadry Ismail, who's a 10-year NFL wide receiver, played in the league for 10 years, Super Bowl champ for the Ravens, and is the co-host of the Purple pregame and postgame on WJZ TV in Baltimore. Qadry Ismail, appreciate you doing this. Thanks so much as always, and how you been, my friend?
Zach, I am doing well. Football season is here, and I cannot wait for it to get started regular season.
Yeah, what did you make of John Harbaugh saying that Lamar Jackson, their goal is for him to be the greatest QB ever, and they believe he will do that? What did you make of that when it was revealed to all of us today?
Well, I think for him, it's getting behind your quarterback and recognizing that you're a competitive coach. You know what you have as far as the talent at quarterback is going to make or break your, legacy, if you will. John obviously is one of the longest tenured coaches. I think it solidifies him even more so by having a dynamic guy like Lamar that could potentially, if he does what he needs to do as far as on the field, off the field, all those things, he can very well put himself in the conversation. Obviously, we know who the GOAT is, and Tom Brady with all of his resume, and Joe Montana and his resume. But there's some guys that, Lamar's going to have to kind of, look at and go up against. And one guy is currently playing, and that's Patrick Mahomes. So I think it's just John Harbaugh being John Harbaugh, supporting his guy.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. It was confusing to me. Like, I don't necessarily have a problem with it. But it seems like John Harbaugh may have thought that, like, Lamar needed a vote of confidence, where anytime I've ever dealt with Lamar, he's extremely confident in his abilities. Hey, it comes from a good place, but I just thought it was very unnecessary. And now everyone's going to talk about what Lamar can or can't do for the next week, it feels like.
Nah, they've been talking about what Lamar cannot do for the entire offseason. It seems like anything that comes out is like, Lamar can't, and or the rankings of quarterbacks, and you look at, his resume versus other guys, and they're putting guys like, a C.J. Stroud ahead of him. Is C.J. Stroud a good player? Yeah, but is he a young player that has the resume of Lamar? No. Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow's in our same division. Does he have the resume of Lamar? He had a year. That was kind of like, okay, and then the injury bug kind of hit him. So, outside of Patrick Mahomes, I just don't see where all this, Lamar is down on the list when it comes to ranking quarterbacks. And I think that's where, from a bigger picture standpoint, you see what John Harbaugh is doing, protecting his guy. And I don't think it's necessarily something directed at Lamar so much as it's directed to, the media and, the fans across the league. Like, look, this is who we got. And he's a damn good quarterback, and the guy's legit. So put some respect on his name.
Do you think Lamar right now is the second best quarterback in football?
You're always trying to push me into that little corner. But see, I'm not going to go into that little corner.
But that's what it sounded like, Kadri. That's what when we talk about Allen and Burrow.
I'm answering your question. What John Harbaugh, you asked about John Harbaugh, so I'm answering you and giving you that understanding. Now, that is that. So when you look at Joe Burrow's resume, when you look at C.J. Stroud's resume, when you look at everybody else's resume, outside of Patrick Mahomes, that's where you can say, hey, why are you saying Lamar is further down the list when Lamar's resume is better than everybody else's?
Kadri Ismail here with us. Something I am excited about with the Ravens this year is the acquisition of Derrick Henry. Bringing in Henry, obviously, it makes that offense better. What do you think is going to be the toughest part for defenses, though, when you line up in the red zone and you have Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry in the same backfield?
Yeah, for a defense, what makes a defense go, the first thing is recognizing personnel to personnel. And so if you have the right personnel, you feel like you have a chance to, compete and be better than whatever the offensive personnel is on the field. But the mismatch is where you would have a Lamar Jackson and you have a Derrick Henry and you have a Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely and a Rashad Bateman and a when you have them all out there, Zay Flowers, when you have them all out there on the field, I think that's where a defense, how you going to match up? You're going to match up big personnel to take away Derrick Henry? Okay, put you on the outside. Okay, you go ahead and go nickel. Okay, well, we'll go ahead and match up with Isaiah and Mark Andrews. Okay, well, it doesn't matter what you put out there. If you go, dime or whatever, a package that is a small package, for Derrick Henry, and you got to account for Lamar Jackson. So I think that's something that, for Todd Monken, the offensive coordinator for the Ravens, there's a huge advantage.
How much do you believe in Todd Monken? Just wondering, because deservedly so, he took a lot of criticism for the game plan in the AFC Championship game.
Well, I think his goal is to improve upon what he built last year, and I think from all of what I've seen in the OTAs as well as what they got going on early in, training camp, I think it's sky's the limit. I think his play calling, the way in which he, pushes the envelope in regards to getting Lamar better, enhancing the offense, how creative can he get with guys that are going to be surrounding Lamar. All that, I think, comes into play when you talk about Todd Monken.
Let me get your thoughts on Zay Flowers. I know it didn't end the way that he wanted to, but it was a very promising debut season for him, rookie season. What do you want to see him improve on now going into year 2, and what did you see off of year 1?
Well, I saw a young man who, just embraced the fun of the game his first year. And I think from a adversity standpoint, as far as the AFC Championship game where, he gets a taunting foul, which I thought was bootleg. And then, of course, he gets the ball punched out by Snead. I think for him, it's about redemption. But then it's also about growth. Redemption meaning that, look, you can depend upon me, and, I am that big play threat that you drafted me to be. And at the same time, I think, just the big play threat as far as, pushing the ball down the football field, he has that capability as well. So, the sky's the limit for him, and I think it's just a matter of continually getting better, week in and week out.
What's your biggest concern about this team? Like, if you had to identify one weakness with the Ravens going into this season, Qadri Ismail, what would it be?
I don't know if it's a weakness, but so much as it's the unknown. The unknown is the offensive line. You got a young group, and basically with that young group, the season kind of hinges upon it. As much as we talk about the skill positions, I think it's, the guys on the outside, depending upon the protection, so Lamar Jackson can throw them the football. For Derrick Henry and the rest of the running back group to thrive, I think it's necessary for, the offensive line to allow them to get to that second level. They get to that second level, my goodness, they're going to be as potent of a running attack as any in the league. So I think the offensive line, when I look at it, it's where I would say, you know what, if they do well, so goes them, so goes the rest of the team. If they don't, then I think that's going to be cause for concern.
Yeah, I'm curious what the defense will look like. We always know the Ravens have a good defense, but you lose McDonald. I know they promoted from within with Zach Gore getting the job, but I just wonder what that adjustment is as well defensively.
Well, you got Roquan Smith. I mean, he's, a high tide that raises all ships. And I think for Trenton Simpson, that's going to really be kind of the X factor, although he's really looked the part so far. He's played fast. He's played athletic. He's played with confidence and authority. But I think Roquan puts everybody in place. I think we are looking at arguably the best secondary in the league. Let them come out of training camp healthy. I will gladly say they are the best secondary in the league. Kyle Hamilton is leading the way with that. Marcus Williams just got to, again, stay healthy. I think their defensive front, led by Justin Madubuike, is as good as advertised. They call him Baby Aaron Donald. Well, Aaron is now retired, and so I think there's a void that needs to be filled, and I think Madubuike can certainly fill that void. So, for Zach Orr, I think he has the confidence to put guys in places to succeed. But for him, I also believe it's about the confidence of knowing when to call what. And, there's probably going to be some growing pains like any coordinator that's starting off. But I think he has the eyes and ears of his defense.
And then the other thing with the defense, too, you talk about how great the secondary could be. It's like the rich get richer, adding Eddie Jackson just recently.
Yeah, no, I think Eddie Jackson, heck, even in today's practice, he went out there and had a pick. So it's one of those cases where, let him, one of the reasons why I guess he wasn't where he needed to be in Chicago, and they decided to part ways is just because of the injuries that he had and missing some games. But yeah, I really love the fact that they have a strong veteran presence mixed with some young talent like first round pick in Nate Wiggins.
Last thing I'll ask you, just getting back to Lamar. We all know the regular season was incredible last year, picked up a second MVP. The conversation that derives from that, probably now more than ever, is, hey, they had a road to get to a Super Bowl last year. Through Baltimore, they couldn't get the job done. People now wonder if Lamar can ever win a Super Bowl. I know you think he can, but what do you say to the people that don't believe Lamar will ever hoist the Lombardi?
Well, I think, there's the biases of what they feel is, their particular team and their particular quarterback, and, they're going to have that. But, the other, people who might have their doubts and all that, I think, Peyton Manning kind of had his ups and downs his first couple of years, and he's, finally hit his stride. And obviously we're talking ups and downs as far as Super Bowl, not necessarily the regular season.
Sure.
But I think that's where, Lamar is at right now. He's slowing the game down even more than where we saw before. I think he has the necessary weapons around him to succeed. And, yeah, having Derrick Henry absolutely helps.
He is Qadry Ismail, former NFL wide receiver. Make sure you check him out, the host of the Purple pregame and postgame on WJZ TV in Baltimore. Qadry, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me always, Zach.
You got it. There he is. Qadry Ismail joining us on the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. I was just following up there. I guess he was taking you from this side of John Harbaugh, where he felt like John Harbaugh has had to speak out. But, Marco, you're pretty, well-versed on criticism and when people are critical of others and if it's fair or not. Has Lamar Jackson this offseason really been that disrespected where the coach felt compelled to come out and swing and basically say he's going to be the greatest quarterback ever and then defend Lamar from criticism? Did I miss this all through the summer?
No, I also don't know what the motive here for Harbaugh is, because all he did was put more pressure on his quarterback. Usually there's a reason. Let's do this to try to get the deflected, to put it on me, to put it. All he did was shine the light right on his quarterback when it didn't need to be there. Mm-hmm. Because everybody knows how good Lamar Jackson is. The question is, can you get over the hump in the playoffs? Can you get a Super Bowl? Can you get there? Can you win it? That's it. This is not 5, 6, 7 years ago, whatever. Can you throw the football? If they run this coverage, can you read it? We got past all that nonsense. 2 MVPs, we're past that. It's almost, all just, can you win a Super Bowl?
It feels like it was like an insecurity from Harbaugh. When he heard there was a conversation, and then last year, right, you're sitting there, home AFC title game, the Chiefs don't even play their best game, you can't beat them. And yeah, in that week after, there were conversations about Lamar. And that week after, a lot of it was directed to the offensive coordinator, Todd Monken, for that terrible game plan. Yeah. But, even when we just talked to Qadry, and I know that Qadry, former Raven and all that, and does postgame and pregame, but it was but when I said it to Qadry that, hey, I didn't really think there was much there. He's like, oh, no, he gets disrespected a lot and everything.
Disrespected to me is the wrong term. Did he get criticized for playing poorly in a game at home when you had the best record in the league? When you should have took your team to the Super Bowl? Yeah, but I think that's fair.
That's what happens to star quarterbacks.
That's what criticism is.
You don't show up there. I think it's warranted.
Look, if you can't handle the pressure of being a 2-time MVP and not being able to get over the hump and win in the playoffs, tough. That's the world we're living in. I didn't think it was unfair. I also don't think that John Harbaugh needed to come out guns blazing, and I don't understand the ulterior motive. There's always an ulterior motive when a head coach speaks. He goes out in front. He's not only the mouthpiece for your organization, but he's also helpful of his players. He gets it. There's something there. Am I doing this to motivate this one? Am I doing that? The only thing that I can see here is to motivate Lamar Jackson, which I got to be honest, I don't think he needed.
No, I don't either.
So I don't understand the ulterior motive, and to me, this is dumb. It's almost like it's a misstep.
I would actually,
and that's hard to believe with a guy like John Harbaugh.
I know this is tough to evaluate, but I don't think there's a more motivated quarterback in the NFL than Lamar Jackson. Think of this guy, when going to the NFL, who won a Heisman in college. Just because you won a Heisman doesn't mean you're going to go on to be a great quarterback, but you should at least be afforded the opportunity to be a quarterback. And yet some people say, no, go to running back, go to wide receiver. Yeah. And he's thrown that at everyone's face. Yeah. Now he's won 2 MVPs. Right. And now, there are people that say he can't win a Super Bowl. I understand that. People say that, but
to go win one.
You had a good half of football when you had the road going through your backyard to get to the Super Bowl this year. I don't think Lamar needed any extra motivation, and that's why I thought Harbaugh was just lost here.
Again, the other stuff
unnecessary.
The other stuff makes sense. That's doubt for no reason. That's doubt where it's almost like, you can say the haters and all that. I get all that.
Mm-hmm.
When you're as good as he is, and everyone has to, whether you want to or not, you have to say it. When you're that good, you're going to get criticized if you don't get over the hump. That's just bottom line. Josh Allen's getting it too. If you don't win in the playoffs, you get criticized.
Mm-hmm. And not only that.
Comes with the territory.
I know we got to take a break, but forget about just one. He talked about being the greatest quarterback ever.
Yeah,
that's what Harbaugh said. Patrick Mahomes has 3 right now.
Yeah.
Brady has 7. And you also have Montana with 4. And just because you have the most rank, like Bradshaw had 4, no one was saying that Terry Bradshaw was a top 3 quarterback of all time. But to put yourself in the same category as a Brady, a Mahomes, or a Montana, it's not about just winning one. You then got to win multiple.
No. And again, that's nonsense. That's where you look at it and you're like, but again, I still feel I keep coming back to, so this was to do what? So you need to light another fire under your quarterback because you felt like he was complacent? That's the only thing I can feel here.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm not in the building. Maybe John Harbaugh felt that Lamar Jackson was complacent and didn't take too much of it on his shoulders after a bad performance in the playoffs. I find that difficult to believe, but that's the only thing that would justify what he said.
All righty, we'll come on back. We'll take you some of the biggest stories in the world of sports with some audio. We'll get to the news brief, but here's the latest Infinity Sports Network update first with El Capitan, Marco Belletti.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Zach Aaron Rodgers never shy to give his opinion. Seems annoyed missing a pair of mandatory training camps last month. Kind of blew up everywhere. And Rodgers, his own interpretation of what went down.
They can arbitrarily put a tag on whatever week of OTAs they want. So this is the mini camp week, which makes it somehow more mandatory than the other weeks. But it was an OTA schedule. That's how it's, how words can be a little deceiving from time to time. You can make a story out of the fact that I missed a mini camp when it was really 2 OTA days.
Right. Interesting.
That came to the first 10.
That courtesy of the Part of My Take podcast. Now, Rodgers did joke about probably being at Jets training camp, which begins tomorrow. Meanwhile, Jordan Love won't practice again until an extension is complete. GM Brian Gutekunst's not thrilled, but he gets it.
This is something we're all working on, and we certainly understand where he's coming from. We'd like him to be out there. It's important for him to be out there. Obviously, you guys know how important practice is.
One game complete in baseball. Yankees dominate the Rays 9-1. Juan Soto went deep twice, drove in 4. Carlos Rodon struck out 10 over 7 innings of 1-run baseball. Off the field, Braves came to terms with veteran Whit Merrifield as the 35-year-old released by the Phillies last week. That a 1-year deal. And Spencer Dinwiddie reportedly to the Mavericks, 1-year deal. I'm Marco Belletti.
The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. All you have to say is play Infinity Sports Network. That's it. Play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
By the way, earlier this hour, I gave you the USA Today 14 playoff teams, the 7 in the AFC, 7 in the NFC. It's actually a very creative Super Bowl prediction they give. I did not give you the Super Bowl prediction. USA Today's Super Bowl prediction, the Jets against the Packers. Rodgers against Love with the New York Jets winning the Super Bowl. Oh, jeez. They're getting real creative there. All righty, let's start things off with Aaron Rodgers. This was on Part of My Take via Barstool Sports. When will Aaron Rodgers retire?
How many more years?
I don't know. I'm not sure. This one for sure.
This one for sure.
I wanted to do 2 good ones and to give us a chance to retire a Jet, win 2 Super Bowls.
Yep. Yeah, that'd be great. And then do the Kyle Orton.
Yes.
Is that how you retire?
Legend, of course.
Win 2 Super Bowls? You haven't won 2 Super Bowls yet in your career. Is he talking about, that's always, Rodgers done this before. Is he talking about win 2 Super Bowls himself or win 2 with the Jets? Because Jet fans, if they win 1, they wouldn't know what to do with themselves. They win 2, they really wouldn't know what to do with themselves. It just shows you, though, it's either going to be this year or next year, as if for Rodgers. But also, Rodgers is a guy that he does not shy away from the spotlight being on him. So would it shock me if Rodgers went to go on to play a few more years after that? No, but I don't think he is as all in as football as a normal quarterback is. I'm not saying that there is commitment issues, but he cares about other things. So I don't think Rodgers is going to be playing more than 2 years. I think it depends how this year goes. Like, if they come close this year and don't get the job done, I think he'll come back. If they win it all, I think he's gone. But if they underachieve and, let's say, miss the playoffs, and maybe some of that fire burns him. I'll make him prove everyone wrong. Everyone doubts in me. But then I think if it goes south this year, then he's going to, wouldn't be running off into the sunset, but you get the point if you're walking away from the game. Here's Jeremy Fowler. He was on to ESPN, and he made it clear that the Vikings love Sam Darnold.
Well, he's getting paid like a starter now, McCarthy, but he's going to have to be lights out in order to be the starter week one because the Vikings are really excited about Sam Darnold. They believe there's untapped potential here. He's never quite had a supporting cast like this with Justin Jefferson and TJ Hawkinson and Aaron Jones, and so he's underachieved so far. They're hoping that maybe he can have a Geno Smith type impact in Seattle, that second act, right, where you have a good next career arc. But McCarthy, they got a plan for him. They're not going to rush him out there, but they're also not going to cap him either. They believe when he's ready to play, he'll play.
I don't think Sam Darnold's a good quarterback. Was he in the best situation in New York? Obviously not. But outside of the Giants in week one, there's no game in the first 2 months of the season that you look at and you go, okay, I think the Vikings are going to win that with Sam Darnold. After the Giants, they play San Francisco, then they play the Texans, they're at Green Bay, they play the Jets, then they play the Lions, and they play the Rams. And then they have the Colts and the Jaguars. And that takes you through November. So if they start Sam Darnold, I think it's a waste of everybody's time, where it sets up a monster week one against the Giants. The Giants have very good defense this year. But I could see him having a monster week one against the Giants, and then after that, it's gonna go south real quick. I think it's a waste to play Sam Darnold. But Jeremy Fowler, I feel like every year now, loves hyping up Sam Darnold last year. This was a year ago before the 2023 season where Jeremy Fowler was on with Rich Eisen, and he was praising from what things he was hearing about Sam Darnold with the 49ers. Remember that from a year ago?
When the 49ers signed Sam Darnold early in free agency, gave him decent money, and considering, like, people have always just sort of been enamored with him around the league, for better or worse, there are a lot of people around the league that think that he'll play meaningful snaps for San Francisco this year based on why they signed him, when they signed him, just some of the ability and, that he's a perfect fit for Kyle Shanahan's offense, that might actually bring out the best in him for once. And so I'm curious to see how that plays out. It's like a choose-your-own-adventure with them, too. But I would put Purdy as the one if he's healthy. That seems to be the case over there. But, there's a feeling that Darnold could be out on the field at some point and playing for that team in meaningful snaps.
Yeah, what a feeling that was. How did that turn out? Brock Purdy was in the Super Bowl. Let's go to Mike Vrabel. He was on with Pardon My Take via Barstool Sports on the viral clock management moment that annoyed Bill Belichick. That was actually in Tom Brady's final game in New England. I was there. Go ahead.
These games are all taped, guys. Somebody comes up with an idea, and then somebody tries to do the same thing. Or
but
somebody
you did it, perfectly.
Right. It was good. And again, my guy, I did not want to smirk. I did. I swear to God.
You definitely had a little smirk.
But my guy's stretch up in the box, he was in my ear, and he could watch on the TV copy, and he is steaming. And I'm like, stop telling me this. And I was like, because I didn't want to smirk.
Yeah, it's like the ultimate bleep you moment to Belichick. And I know Vrabel played for Belichick. They had a lot of success together. But remember, Vrabel was shipped off in that Matt Castle deal where it seemed very unnecessary. So there is the ultimate payback. Let's go to Anthony Edwards. Here was the key for the U.S. win over South Sudan where they won by 1.
Almost a miracle win for South Sudan, but you managed to stay there. What was the key for you guys?
LeBron James. Yeah, pretty much just LeBron.
Here is LeBron, happy for the close win.
I'm going to be honest, I like those ones better than the blowouts. At least we get tested. I like getting tested, man. Put the closure on. I like being tested. Those are the best ones.
Yeah, maybe this makes me a bad American. I don't care about the U.S. men's basketball team in the Olympics. I saw everyone was freaking out. Oh, we only won by 1 point. Like, who cares? And I know the idea is cool. The USA women's team going up against WNBA All-Stars. But that was another thing. I'm like, how much did the Olympians really care in that All-Star game? Here's Caitlin Clark on Beating Team USA.
I think, if anything, it shows how good this league is. It shows how much talent is in this league and how you have to show up and prepare every single night because there's a lot of players that aren't even here on All-Star Weekend that can, be here and be in these moments too. It just shows the amount of talent that we have And there's even so much more talent that's not even in our league because there's only 12 teams. There's less than 144 spots. So, they could have picked any combination of 12 players and probably been really, really successful.
So there you go. Those are the two stories that everyone was talking about this weekend that I just didn't really care about. It was the USA men's team and then the USA women's team losing to the WNBA All-Stars that were not selected to be on the Olympics team. All righty. It is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We got one more hour to play, hour number 2 in the books. When we come on back, off the John Harbaugh comments, when it relates to his quarterback in Lamar Jackson, that Lamar goes down as the greatest quarterback of all time, which is crazy. He's a great player, 2-time MVP. I love Lamar. I've defended Lamar enough. But greatest quarterback of all time, he's never going to be in the Brady category. He's never going to be in the Montana category. He's never going to be in the Patrick Mahomes category. But heading into this season, who are the 5 best quarterback head coach duos in the NFL? 4, I think, are easy peasy. At least 3. Probably 4. The 5th one, very tough. We'll get to that next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
And away we go, hour number 3 of our radio program. That's right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. The big news today is John Harbaugh went to bat for his guy Lamar Jackson, but it didn't even seem like he needed to go to bat for Lamar Jackson. There was a time where the conversation around Lamar Jackson was unfair. I don't think it's in an unfair spot right now. The Baltimore Ravens just had the number 1 overall seed in the AFC. The Baltimore Ravens, all they had to do was win 2 games in the playoffs, and they're in the Super Bowl. And they played 1 good half up against the Texans in the second round. And then in a home AFC championship game, I was there. It was boring. They didn't show up. And the Chiefs still tried to find a way for the Ravens to win, and the Ravens offense could do nothing in that game. Lamar didn't play well, and the game plan was absolutely atrocious. But John Harbaugh comes out swinging and is like, oh, Lamar's going to go down as the greatest quarterback ever, and he felt compelled to defend his quarterback in Lamar Jackson. What's the unfair criticism? We all know Lamar is a great quarterback. The nonsense he had to deal with coming out of college, I said it then, I'll say it again, was stupid. It was, and Bill Polian looked like a moron for it. But right now, I think the conversation is fair. Can Lamar win a Super Bowl? And up until this past year, I thought it was unfair to say he couldn't because it was such a small sample size. But when you had all these things in front of you and the way that it played out this year, and you didn't achieve what was necessary and succeed to get to a Super Bowl with only having to win 2 games, you deserve to have that question out there. And people either say, no, you can't, or be unsure if you can. So I don't think it's that ridiculous right now to say Lamar's not going to win a Super Bowl because the road won't be probably ever as easy or easier as what it was last year. So are the Ravens going to be good? Yeah. Will the Ravens be a playoff team? I think so. But this idea that Lamar has been disrespected this offseason, I don't know. Ravens fans just put on the purple glasses and only seeing it their way? That's what it feels like to me. Because I don't think Lamar has been disrespected this offseason. Lamar's viewed right now as a top 5 quarterback. He's 4th on my list. The only 3 quarterbacks I have in front of him, Mahomes, Burrow, and Allen. So you could be a great regular season quarterback and then come up small in the postseason. And what? Now we have to crush people for, or now people get crushed for just saying they don't think Lamar could get the job done to win a Super Bowl? That to me doesn't make sense. It doesn't. And I know people are going to say, oh, well, Zach, what about Burrow? He hasn't won an MVP. Okay, Joe Burrow's been healthy for 2 years. When he's been healthy, he's been in a Super Bowl and an AFC Championship game. Lamar's been in 1 AFC Championship game. Josh Allen. Yeah, he doesn't have the MVPs. Totally get it. Josh Allen's only been to an AFC Championship game just like Lamar. But Josh Allen and the Bills did beat the Ravens in a playoff game once when Taron Johnson had that pick and took it to the house, like a 100-yard pick six or whatever it was. 102 maybe it even was. I think it was in the end zone. So, yeah, I get it. Josh Allen didn't get the job done this year. But then there's also been other years where he's balled out and the Chiefs with Mahomes and the defense 13 seconds, and that all did go down. It'd be one thing if Lamar Jackson played great in that championship game. Right? And there was excuses why they didn't win. He didn't play great, though. That whole offense was off in that game. So the Ravens trying to sell you that Lamar has been disrespected, sure, would have worked when he was coming out of Louisville. Would have worked after a few years in the league. But I think everyone right now looks at Lamar and they say, great quarterback, but needs a championship. And that's sports. It happened to Giannis Antetokounmpo. It happened to Nikola Jokic. Guess what those guys did in the NBA? After winning multiple MVPs. They shut everybody up by winning it all. So if the Ravens are annoyed, or if Lamar is annoyed, or if Harbaugh is fed up with the idea that people are critical of his quarterback, and sometimes criticism is unfair, but here I think it's warranted. He had a great regular season. People bought into the Ravens. People said the Ravens were the best team in the league. And when it mattered the most, they got lucky to win the game up against the Texans. And then the Chiefs didn't even bring their A game, and they still couldn't beat the Chiefs. Like, you look back at last year, I think some people forget how great the Ravens were in the regular season. I know they had the one seed. But remember, they smothered the 49ers. They beat the Dolphins towards the end of the year 56-19. They beat the Rams in a crazy game. They beat the Bengals at the end of the season. They destroyed the Seahawks 37-3. They beat the Lions 38-6. It's almost like the Ravens last year, they peaked too early. They started off the year 3-2, and they went on a win streak. They went from 3-2 to then they beat Tennessee, Detroit, Arizona, Seattle, 4 wins in a row. They lost that game to Cleveland, which they choked. And then after that, they beat the Bengals, the Chargers, the Rams, the Jaguars, the 49ers, and the Dolphins. They lost, the last game of the regular season didn't mean anything. But from mid-October to the end of December, they lost one game. And then come the playoffs, they had I know it was 34-10 that they beat the Texans, but the first half, that game was close. And then they lose to the Chiefs, and their offense is only able to score 10 points in the game. I remember that game at halftime against the Texans, that was a tie ball game. That was a 10-10 ball game. And then we saw what the Ravens did the second half. So what am I supposed to praise the Ravens off of from last year? That Lamar won another MVP. They had a great regular season. But the thing that people have been overly critical about their postseason failures, they played, a good second half against the Texans? So I'm supposed to sit here and tell you how great the Ravens are and how awesome Lamar Jackson is and how great John Harbaugh. I'm someone that I put John Harbaugh as the third best coach in football and Lamar Jackson as the fourth best quarterback in the league. I've been positive with the Ravens. But until Lamar wins a Super Bowl, that conversation's not going away. And there was a time where it was premature. There was a time where you could say it was disrespectful. But now, I don't think the Ravens have been unfairly attacked this offseason. I don't think Lamar has been unfairly attacked this offseason. You had a team that was good enough to win it all, and you guys played one good half in the postseason. So John Harbaugh, please, I don't feel like you needed to go out there and say how Lamar's going to be the greatest quarterback of all time, and your quarterback, who's very confident, he should be confident, didn't need the confidence boost. So it made zero sense to me what John Harbaugh was trying to accomplish. It just made zero sense to me. I don't get what there was to gain outside of, you went to bat for your quarterback. You've already gone to bat for your quarterback. You guys just paid him a king's ransom. And you defend him every turn you look at. So this, to me, is just a weird one. I don't think Lamar has been unfairly portrayed or attacked this offseason. I have in other years. And I thought there was no benefit or no reason why John Harbaugh basically had to tell everyone today Lamar's the greatest thing ever. Here is John Harbaugh saying Lamar is going to be the greatest quarterback ever.
The vision for Lamar Jackson, and it's a vision, it's something you see it like it's already happened. You can see it like it's already been done. The victory has already been won when you pour into a vision. And the vision that we have together is that Lamar Jackson is going to become and be known and be recognized as the greatest quarterback ever to play in the history of the National Football League. That's the vision. It's going to happen by Lamar, his work ethic, and his brilliant talent. That's how it's going to happen.
It's nice to have a vision, but as great as Lamar is, he's never going to be Brady, and he's never going to be Mahomes. Forget other quarterbacks that we can name too. But that's the thing that's missing from Lamar's resume. It's the Lombardi Trophy. So to go on this diatribe, it just didn't make any sense to me. It really didn't. Especially off the year that you guys just had in the regular season, where it kind of validated people that said Lamar was never going to win a Super Bowl. And that he's great, but then come playoff time, fades away. Because that's what happened this past year. To a T. Here is John Harbaugh defending Lamar Jackson against the criticism.
There's a lot of stuff that's said that you got to just scratch your head about and kind of wonder, what's that person even thinking, So, but we take it personally. Lamar's a guy all his life. Lamar Jackson has been a guy who's been answering those same questions. I'm talking about since he was a kid, junior high, high school, college, the draft, the success he's had in the National Football League, and it still comes up.
That, to me, at certain times, he's not wrong. But after this offseason, to be this fired up and to think your quarterback has been treated unfairly, what was said? What, putting 3 quarterbacks or 4 quarterbacks in front of him on a top 10 list is disrespectful? That's what we're doing? Saying the Ravens aren't going to win a Super Bowl this year, is that it doesn't make sense to me. If you want to prove people wrong, if you want to shut people up, and I like Lamar, I've defended Lamar a crazy amount of times on this show. But last year, you really don't have a leg to stand on if you're the Ravens, when what everyone said about you, or not everyone, a lot of people said about you, ended up making those people look right. Because that was the team. You guys were rolling. You could have got the job done, and you didn't. So I just don't get where this is coming from, and it feels like it's from previous years, and then you heard a little bit of it for like a week or two after the championship game, and then, okay, now you felt as if you had to come out swinging to start a training camp. That doesn't make any sense to me. But let's do best quarterback coaching duos in the NFL. So I think there's 4 that need to be, at least 3 that needs to be on everyone's list, probably 4. I think the 4 best quarterback duos in the NFL, before I get to the 5th, because the 5th becomes a little bit tricky. Reed and Mahomes is number 1. I think the 2nd spot is debatable. It has to be between either Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford or John Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson. Now, Lamar Jackson has had more individual success than Matthew Stafford in the regular season. Harbaugh has won a Super Bowl. Sean McVay has won a Super Bowl. But Stafford has also won a Super Bowl. So since Stafford was able to win a Super Bowl with the Rams, and you have a coach and a quarterback both winning a Super Bowl, I put McVay and Stafford together there in at number 2. I then put Harbaugh and Jackson in at number 3. You have to have Reed and Mahomes 1. McVay, Stafford, Harbaugh, Jackson, they have to be 2 and 3. Whichever order you want, though, 2 and 3, I'm not going to crush you for it. I don't even think that's up for debate. Now, my 4th best coach-quarterback duo, it's actually Josh Allen, who I think is the 3rd best quarterback in football, and Sean McDermott, who is I had him as the 10th or 9th best coach in the NFL. Now, McDermott, you got to remember, it was almost 2 decades the Bills didn't make the playoffs. All they've done has made the playoffs since they got there. But with McDermott, it seems like he's reached his apex in Buffalo, where it's just getting to an AFC championship game. But for this 5th spot, this is where it gets tricky. Because there's some teams that have the quarterback but don't have the coach. Like the Jets have the quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. You can't make a case that Robert Saleh should be anywhere in the top 5 when it comes to quarterback coaching duos. So here were the other guys that I contemplated are duos. Mike McDaniel and Tua Tagovailoa. Joe Burrow and Zach Taylor. I know it was only 1 year. C.J. Stroud, DeMeco Ryans. Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence had that one really strong year, then last year they regressed. I know we have not seen Herbert and Harbaugh together, but Jim Harbaugh, we know he was in the NFL for 4 years, made 3 NFC championship games with the Super Bowl. Dan Campbell and Jared Goff, crazy with what they did a year ago. But my answer is actually, and remember, when you go to the fourth one being Allen and McDermott, where McDermott's a good coach and Allen's a great quarterback, I think it's just good here. And this is a team in the last 3 years, 12 wins, 12 wins, 12 wins. Their quarterback is good, not great, and their coach has won a Super Bowl in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers, albeit. But he has done better than what people expected out of him in Dallas, even though the playoffs have been an abomination. It's Dak Prescott and it's Mike McCarthy. And, I don't love it. I don't think it's sexy, but it's solid. You know what you're getting. It's going to be a good season, and then in the postseason, they're going to flame out. But I can't put McDaniel and Tua. Tua's only been healthy for 1 year, 1 full season with that duo together. Burrow and Taylor, I thought going into last season, many people were like, okay, that's all Burrow. And then Taylor did a nice job coaching when Burrow was out. But I know it's more than a half good season for Taylor because you shouldn't take away from that team getting to the Super Bowl. But if Taylor doesn't have Joe Burrow, I don't think Zach Taylor still has a job with the Cincinnati Bengals. Stroud and Ryans, it's too premature. Peterson and Lawrence, after 1 year, yeah, you could say it, but then the second year was bad. I really thought about Herbert and Harbaugh, and I do think that could be the top 5 next year. And I do think Harbaugh, and Herbert's good, but I think Harbaugh's going to take Herbert to a different level. And Goff and Campbell, tremendous season together, but I got to see more than 1 season. So I ended up putting Dak and McCarthy in there at 5. Stu, do you think is there another duo there? Because I think we'd all agree inside the top 5, you got to have Reed Mahomes, McVay, Stafford, Harbaugh, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Sean McDermott. Those 4 quarterback coaching duos have to be somewhere in the top 5. But for the 5th one, I ended up going with Dak and McCarthy. If it was not Dak and McCarthy, who do you think should be in there out of the groupings that I gave you?
I actually like a lot. I would like to see a little more playoff success and them to be together for a little longer. But I do think Dan Campbell and Jared Goff is a really solid one. And I think an argument can be made that Campbell's a better coach than McCarthy and Goff is a better quarterback than Dak. Argument can be made. I'm not saying it's absolute for either one, but...
Well, you know what? You bring up a good point, because going into this season, if I gave people Jared Goff or Dak Prescott, I think it'd be close, and you would definitely have some people... I think it'd be 50-50.
Very
maybe
close, yeah.
Maybe because the Cowboys are a bigger brand, and Dak, right... Well, I can't say he's been around longer, but more so, he's been in one spot where Goff was an add-in to that deal to get an extra first-round pick with the Lions, and he ended up turning out to be their franchise quarterback. But right now, I would feel, you asked me to win one playoff game, who am I more confident in? Goff or Dak? I would take Goff over Dak. And then the coaching side of it, McCarthy's won a Super Bowl. I think McCarthy gets disrespected a lot. But we've seen now McCarthy in Dallas coach his ass off in the regular season. Dan Campbell just got the Lions to an NFC championship game. The Cowboys haven't been to an NFC championship game since the 1995 regular season. So that's a good one there. I just got to see it again, because they were awesome down the stretch 2 years ago, the second half of the season. And then they got better this past year, and now you have the Super Bowl expectations there. So that's definitely a good one there. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come on back when we do return. The monkey was already off Xander Schauffele's back. Now it's really off his back because it's sustained success. Who's the next star to get the monkey off his or her back when it comes to winning a championship? We'll get to that on the other side.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Infinity Sports Network.
So Xander Schauffele won his second major championship over the weekend, the Open Championship. His second major championship this calendar year. Xander Schauffele, always see him with good showings. And then it was like, can't get the job done. And, he had other top 5 finishes at the Masters and the U.S. Open. And we know just some of those crushing defeats that he's had. But to find a way to get the job done not only once is impressive, but then to show how great you are with the sustained success and winning it, the final major of the year to make it 2 out of your last 3 majors, all the power in the world and all the blessings in the world to Xander Schauffele. So he finished second just going major by major. He finished second in the 2019 Masters, third in the 2021 Masters, another top 10 finish in 2023, and a top 10 finish in 2024. PGA Championship had obviously 2 top 10 finishes when you factor in this year winning. U.S. Open, tied for 3rd, 5th, tied for 7th, tied for 10th, tied for 7th this year. And the Open Championship ended up winning it all. Now, if you go back to even 2017 and 2018, he had 2 more top 10 finishes in the U.S. Open. And then the Open Championship, he was tied for 2nd in 2018. So you want to talk about a guy getting so close but yet so far. That was Xander Schauffele. And it shows you, right? When you get so close but yet so far, like going into Lamar conversation, people are like, Lamar's not going to win a championship, which he may not. I'm not saying they definitely will. But we have seen before in sports, guys or gals get so close, not get the job done. Sometimes they never get the job done, but then they break through. And I feel like that's the most fun. Like you look at someone like John Elway, how close he was, and then at the end won 2 championships. Peyton Manning early on in his career, he couldn't win a big game to save his life. And then midway, ended up getting the job done, that epic comeback against the Patriots. And then 2 weeks later, they beat the Chicago Bears in the Super Bowl, and then got one at the end of his career where outside of the AFC Championship game, that was like, hey, you show up, you don't really do work for the class assignment, but you still find the way to get the A because it was a group project. So I think that all championships are fun, right? But I think the 2 ways about it is when it's someone that comes out of nowhere and wins it all, or then I think the most that we appreciate them is when someone is so close, is perceived as a choker, perceived as someone that can't get the job done, and then they tell everyone to go bleep off by winning it. But it's one thing to tell everyone to bleep off one time, then you do it 2 out of the last 3 majors. The only unfortunate part about this one, and Stu, I don't know if you're a big golf fan. I don't think you're a big golf fan, right, Stu? Stu's shaking his head no. But do you at least, are you a casual golf fan? Will you watch the golf majors?
I will watch the last few holes of the Masters, and that's
about it.
That's about it, yes.
Okay. So I always get fired up for the Masters, always get fired up for the PGA Championship. I get fired up for the U.S. Open. I'll watch a few other events in the calendar year. It used to be different before the LIV and the PGA stuff because so many of these big stars now are on LIV and you never hear from them. And the PGA Tour just isn't what it once was. But I'll watch some other golf throughout the year. The Open Championship, and I know that it ended here early in America, but on Thursday when you had tee time started at 3 a.m, it's just not conducive for me to watch. It's not. And I know the first 2 days of the tournament trying to find a way to watch a golf major is nearly impossible. But that's the only part that's a shame here with the Open Championship is that a guy for Xander Schauffele, if let's say he would have won the Masters and then the U.S. Open, him winning 2 major championships in a calendar year, I just think it's more talked about. But the Open Championship, just because of the time difference, I don't think it got as much attention from most of us traditional people here in the U.S. media. But if you would have thought that there would have been any golfer to win 2 major championships in a calendar year, it would have been Scotty Scheffler this year, and it ended up being Xander Schauffele. So let me play you one audio clip before we get into the topic here. Here is Xander Schauffele on winning his 2nd major championship this year. Already had the PGA Championship and then wins the Open Championship over the weekend.
I think winning the first one helped me a lot today on the back nine. I had some feeling of calmness come through, and it was very helpful on what has been one of the hardest back nines I've ever played in a tournament. So it's it's a dream come true to win 2 majors in 1 year. It took me forever just to win 1, and to have 2 now is something else.
Yeah, that's the other thing too, and I think it makes a great point. After being told you can't do something for so long, and then you finally do it. You almost become an expert after that in how to do it. And for him, it's like you had a jam-packed leaderboard, and you're looking at it, and people are like, he already won one, so like the pressure is off. But if he didn't win that one, then the pressure intensifies even more, and he probably doesn't end up winning the Open Championship. So let's go through the 4 major sports right now. Who is someone associated with the sport to win their first championship? Or let me say it this way. Get the monkey off his back. Because, like, for example, I'm not going to say Joe Burrow in the NFL. I don't think there's a monkey on Joe Burrow's back right now. 2 full years in the NFL. It's been a Super Bowl, been a championship game. You know, there's a difference in being the first athlete to win a Super Bowl or win a championship that hasn't, and then also get the monkey off the back. In the NFL, Dak has a monkey on his back. Josh Allen, monkey on his back. Lamar Jackson, monkey on his back. I would not say Joe Burrow does. But you know what? My answer is actually not a player. It's a coach. Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan, I know people could say, he was the offensive coordinator with the Falcons. He was an offensive coordinator that blew a 28-3 lead. So if you want to tell me, that's not him as the head coach, put more of that on Dan Quinn, fine. I can even entertain that. But then in the Super Bowl now, twice, up 10 against the 49ers, against the Chiefs, 2 different times. You have 10 against the Chiefs 2 different times. You couldn't slam the door shut on either one of them. And Shanahan, I don't think there's a coach this year under more pressure in the NFL than Kyle Shanahan. Now, there's different ways to define pressure. Pressure is very ambiguous because you can look at it in many different ways. Like Kyle Shanahan's in no danger of losing his job. But you never know how open or how much longer that Super Bowl window is going to stay open. And it could slam shut on you real quick. So Kyle Shanahan, to me, who is the next person in sports to get the monkey off his or her back in the NFL? I think it's Kyle Shanahan. Major League Baseball was between 2. It's Bryce Harper and Shohei Ohtani. Now, Harper has been to the World Series with the Phillies. Ohtani's only played in 3 postseason games. It was 1 series with the Angels. I actually think it's the Phillies. I know the Phillies are the best team in baseball the first half of the season. The Dodgers, to me, I know they won 1 World Series as of late, and that was in the COVID year. They are just so ridiculously good when you look at the entirety of their team. I think the mental factor is more on the Dodgers than it is the Phillies. Because the Dodgers, we know the Phillies have stars, right? Trey Turner and Aaron Nolan, Zach Wheeler, and Bryce Harper. But the Dodgers have Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, and Shohei Ohtani. Just in their line, 3 guys just in their lineup. So I think it's going to be Bryce Harper. NHL, let's be real, it only applies to one person here. And that's Connor McDavid. And he got close. I don't know if he's going to win a cup. I would think he would. But anyone else, I don't think there's like a monkey on their back right now. I know you could say, Zach, a Rangers fan, is that disrespectful to Igor? Igor Shesterkin has played awesome, absolutely awesome in the playoffs. He just gets no help around him. So you want to tell me Artemi Panarin? But if Artemi Panarin wins a championship, I don't think people are like, he got the monkey off his back. No, I think it's more so to, it only really applies for me to Connor McDavid. All righty. And then finally, the NBA. See, this is where it applies that I don't think there's a monkey on this person's back. Where you could not have a championship and not have a monkey on your back. Like, I thought about Jalen Brunson, right? The Knicks with all the moves that they made, but I don't think it's him. The Celtics just got one off their back, Tatum and Brown. I think it's between 2 people that I think of right away. It's Damian Lillard and Paul George. Now, Paul George is in Philly, and Paul George redeemed himself a little bit when Kawhi got hurt with the Clippers a few years ago, and they got to the conference finals. But if the Sixers win, like, Stu, if the Sixers win a championship, you think of Embiid first, right?
Yeah, that's all about Embiid.
I think it's
or
honestly
mostly about Embiid.
You know what? It's not even Paul George, it's Embiid.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely Embiid because he's won the MVP now. I know Paul George is going to be a Hall of Famer, but I would say that it's Embiid who probably has the biggest monkey on his back in the NBA for guys that have not won a championship. But my answer is going to be Dame here. Like Giannis already won, already got the monkey off his back, but that was just an atrocious year. I think Dame wasn't in, and he's talked about this before, he wasn't in the best mental spot in Milwaukee as his big adjustment going from Portland to Milwaukee this past year. So go through that with me, Stu. NFL, I said Kyle Shanahan. Do you argue anybody else?
That would have been mine, but I'll just throw Lamar Jackson in there as the other one. Yeah.
Fair. Major League Baseball, I took Bryce Harper. I'm assuming you'll take Ohtani?
Yes. I think Trout is another one. Obviously, not his fault, though, because of the team he's been on.
Can he be healthy, though?
He needs to be healthy, and he needs to be on a different team.
Yeah. NHL, just McDavid?
Just McDavid, yeah.
Yep. And then the NBA, who would you go with in the NBA? I'm going to go Dame, but the more I think about it, it could be actually Embiid.
It could be Embiid. It could be Dame. We're probably a year or two away from this, and he had a really good year this year getting to the finals. But I think if Luka doesn't get one in the next couple of years, he's going to start hearing those same things that Tatum got, going into this year.
Yeah, I see Christina in Toronto is on hold. And this is actually a great one for the NHL. A great one. Christina, go ahead. Give me the name.
Austin Matthews and the Toronto Maple Leafs.
1,000%. Because that is a team. And
1,000,000%.
Yeah, that's the thing, though. I just never expect them to actually get the job done. But you're so right in talking about getting a monkey off their back. It's definitely the Maple Leafs because it's like death taxes, and then come postseason time, the Maple Leafs just disappointing year after year after year.
We call them up here the Toronto make-believe. Because they make believe that they want to win.
Yeah. Now, I'll say this, though. If you don't win a championship with Berube, then it's just not going to happen. Because Berube did a great job taking over, and thanks for the phone call, and a great one, Christina. Great one. Not a good, a great one. But Berube took over as the interim with the Blues, wins that Stanley Cup, and Berube is a no-nonsense type of guy. You know what? Marco Belletti is here to the Infinity Sports Network, the way that he conducts a locker room. No BS. That's Craig Berube, the Chief. We call you El Capitan. We call Craig Berube the Chief. Yeah. But that's the thing. Like, they got the right coach, and they have so much talent. And that's a great one, Austin Matthews. If you take McDavid out of it, and McDavid just got to a Stanley Cup final and didn't get the job done, almost pulled off that epic 3-0 comeback. But yeah, Austin Matthews would definitely be one.
Different sport. I'll give you one more, though, that you didn't mention. Aaron Judge. Has not performed in the playoffs well. The Yankees haven't won in 15 years, haven't been there in 15 years.
Good one.
Aaron Judge, with all the 62 homers, he needs to.
Are you a Yankee fan or something?
He needs to step up. Yeah,
You're right.
That's definitely one of them, though.
So NFL, I'll use you as checks and balances, and then we'll take a break. Shanahan, Dak, Burrow,
Allen.
So Allen, Lamar, to take Burrow out of it. Because Burrow
I think that's fair.
got to a Super Bowl.
I think that's fair.
MLB, we have Harper, Ohtani, and Judge.
Yes.
NHL, McDavid and Austin Matthews.
Yes.
And then NBA, Dame, Embiid were the two that we really
and I'm with Stu. Luka's getting close. Again,
close.
He's got time
Just got
because
to a finals,
again, he's young and he has been there once. That's helpful, but at some point you have to bring home that trophy. I think it's Embiid, but I think Luka's headed in that direction if he doesn't get one in the next 3 or 4 years.
It is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We'll come on back. Stu's got some questions for me. I'll give you some answers. We'll do a little onsides, offside. But first up, with the latest Infinity Sports Network update, some people say, some say he's like Craig Berube. Here he is, El Capitan Marco Belletti.
Infinity Sports Network. Sports Flash.
Well, Aaron Rodgers shot down the notion he missed a pair of mandatory mini camps last month, saying it was really just an OTA, and he went to the first 10 of them. Seemed annoyed and felt it was media created, as Rodgers seemed to be jovial, a little bit of a sarcastic mood, and a little more fuel to the fire during his time on the Part of My Take podcast.
When does training camp start?
23rd.
Okay.
Yeah.
You'll be there.
Yeah, probably.
Unless you have to go.
I might have a trip planned.
We'll make a clip of that. Just say, probably.
Probably.
That will be a great headline. That will make a lot of people upset.
Perfect.
Where on earth could you go that would make you miss the start of training camp?
Anywhere. What do you mean?
Meanwhile, the man who replaced Rodgers in Green Bay, Jordan Love, wants a new contract and sending a message to the GM, Brian Gutekunst, just how serious he is.
I think it was Saturday night. They kind of informed us that until we get something done that he would not practice again. So unless something gets done here before practice starts here pretty soon, he will not be practicing.
Baseball, Juan Soto homer twice, drove in 4. Yankees overwhelmed the Rays 9-1. Carlos Rodon, 7 innings, a 1-run ball with 10 Ks. Team USA able to hold off Germany 92-88, their final Olympic tune-up. And Spencer Dinwiddie reportedly back to the Mavericks on a one-year deal. I'm Marco Belletti.
Hey, like us on Facebook. Our handle is INF Sportsnet. That's INF Sportsnet for our Facebook page. This is the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick. From the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
All righty, it's time to answer Ask the Pros question of the day. It's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. William Baltimore says, Zach, who'd you rather have for the rest of their careers, Lamar Jackson or C.J. Stroud? You can submit a question by tweeting at INF Sportsnet or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag #AskThePros. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. The answer is C.J. Stroud. Now, I think currently Lamar Jackson's a better quarterback than C.J. Stroud, but the question was for the rest of their careers. Lamar Jackson is 27. Now, here's a misnomer about Lamar Jackson. Takes a lot of hits. Lamar Jackson does a good job at protecting his body, but there's just a lot of wear and tear already on that body. And he suffered some injuries, but they were not because of running those injuries. And Lamar is at an elite level right now, winning 2 more MVPs. But how many more elite years does Lamar have in him? Like, is Lamar, who's 27, let's say 4 years from now, when he's 31, is he going to still be able to run with the frequency that he does? You know, I know it wasn't, the last time he had 1,000 yards was 2020. So back-to-back years, 2019 and 2020. But he had 133 times running the ball this year, 112 or in 2021, 112 in 2022, and then 148 this past year. Like, eventually the body's not going to be able to withstand that. And for C.J. Stroud, his running is basically horizontal. It's not vertical. That's something that I will always remember from C.J. Stroud. I talked to him at the Heisman 2 years ago. And this was before they lost at Ohio State to Georgia in that semifinal game. And he said, I'm more mobile than what people give me credit for, and I look forward to putting that on display soon. A lot of his running's not vertical, though. It's horizontal. It's like Mahomes, right? More running horizontally to extend the play. And I think what Stroud did show this past year, he may never win an MVP, but I would take that for the next 10 years, like talk about the rest of their careers, and Lamar for his next 10 years. So that's the way that I'll answer that. But that's not to be disrespectful to Lamar, because I'm a big fan of Lamar Jackson. He's currently my 4th-ranked quarterback in the NFL. The only 3 in front of him, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, and Patrick Mahomes in that order. But Stu's got some questions for me. I'll give you some answers. Let's get to a little onside-offside. Stu, hit it!
Zach's taking on the most polarizing issues in sports. Which side of the line of scrimmage will he end up on?
Offside. Defense number 69.
It's Onsides, Offsides with Zach Gelb.
Alrighty, Stu, what do we got cooking today?
All right, Zach.
By the way, welcome back, Stu.
Yeah, finally back. It's been about...
You were sick?
Yes.
Then you were sick, were you out a week, then leading into the vacation?
Yeah, I came back one day, but that day you were not here, so it's been... it's almost 3 weeks since I've seen you.
I'm not here for one day. You know, that's a good, hard-working guy, Stuart Kovacs
That's right.
is.
That's right. We're back.
What was the highlight of your vacation? Did you go anywhere? It was like a staycation.
It was more of a staycation. A lot of pool time, a lot of EA Sports college football time.
Oh.
That was pretty much the highlight,
I hate that video game, by the way.
You hate it?
Yeah.
Why?
Don't have a PS5.
I
have a PS4.
Right, they only made it for the current gen
Now,
consoles.
I'm not a big video game player anymore.
Yeah, so you don't want to spend that money on it.
No, it's not even that. I'm sitting around like I can't wait for the video game. launch day, I'm like, oh, I'm going to download it, like all excited. And then I'm like, why can't I download it? And it's because I have a PS4, not a PS5.
That's terrible.
Yeah. And am I going to go out and go get a PS5? Like, probably not. How much is a PS5 now around, you know?
Probably still $400 to $500.
And then how much does it cost for the video game? Like 70 probably?
They're 70 now, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
I did get a brand new TV over the weekend.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That
Getting
sounds
ready
nice.
for football season.
Yeah, right in time. Well, speaking of football, the Texans, they have high expectations thanks to the emergence of C.J. Stroud, as well as the additions of Stephon Diggs and Danielle Hunter this offseason. Now, Houston has added Cam Akers to a crowded backfield that includes Joe Mixon, Dameon Pierce, and Dare Ogunbowale. Ogunbowale.
I think I'm the biggest Dare Ogunbowale fan ever. He was the last interview I did in studio before the pandemic happened.
He's like the former defensive lineman on the Dolphins who I could not pronounce his name from the early 2000s. Ogunbowale.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I can read it, but I can't pronounce it. But anyways, they've added those running backs. So onside, offsides, the Texans' backfield is better this year than it was last year.
You have a lot of names in that backfield. Just because you have a lot of names doesn't make it better. But with Devin Motor Singletary, he had a good season last year, but his career, he's been very streaky. So I think that the answer is yes, it's better than what it was last year, just because you got a lot of horses in that backfield and they could carry the load like every 3 to 4 weeks and just kind of pass the baton, so on and so forth.
The Clippers opened up their $2 billion arena to the media this weekend, showcasing their incredible 44,000 square foot Halo screen that hovers over the court. Now, one of the craziest features of the board is that it has T-shirt cannons built into it after owner Steve Ballmer said, quote, "It's unfair, it's not right that fans in the higher seats don't get a chance to get the free swag from normal T-shirt cannons."
Mm-hmm.
So onsides, offsides, Steve Ballmer is the best owner in sports.
He's the most fan-friendly owner, but he's not the best owner because he's won nothing yet. It's been all talk. Everything's being hyped up, this and that. You got to go win a championship. So I'm going to say offside on that.
Offside.
But I do love that. And also, I think the biggest losers to go to sporting events is the people that take the T-shirts from the children. Or if you're going for a foul ball and you get in, there's like a child right next to you, you don't give it to the children.
The worst.
And the craziest when they do the T-shirt toss, when they give out free T-shirts like as a promotion for the game, like why are you doing a T-shirt toss and people are going nuts for it? You know, if a child's near you, you don't need the T-shirt. Give it to the child. Make a child's day.
Yeah, people lose their minds for those T-shirts.
Yeah.
Anyways, over the weekend, the SEC released its preseason all-conference teams with one very interesting note. The conference released the Longhorns lineman Kelvin Banks Jr. as TEX, while Tennessee center Cooper Mays was listed as UT. The two programs have fought for years over who the true UT is, but it seems like the SEC is picking Tennessee. Onsides, offsides, Tennessee, not Texas, is the true UT.
I'm going to go offsides here because Texas, I feel like, to me, is more UT than Tennessee. For Tennessee, I just like calling them Tennessee and then sing good old Rocky Top. So that's just a personal preference. I would never just go UT for Tennessee because I think it's slighting the Tennessee faithful into singing good old Rocky Top the way that I like to sing it. So that's my answer.
Braxton Miller was a standout quarterback for Ohio State before fizzling out with injuries, but his 11-year-old son Landon is already getting some attention. The sixth grader announced on social media that FAU and head coach Tom Herman have given him his first official offer. As you know, of course, Herman was the OC at Ohio State when Braxton was there. Onsides, offsides, the NCAA should prohibit schools from offering scholarships to players not yet in high school.
Yeah, because it's just all publicity for programs. Like, do we ever follow through with the kid and find out what the kid does? Like, yeah, there's a good chance that Braxton Miller's son could be a very good quarterback. But how many times do you just get the hopes up for someone and then you just take it away if the kid's not good enough when he gets to high school? So I don't think that you should be allowed to give a kid an offer in middle school or elementary school and you should have to wait to high school. So the NCAA should prohibit schools from offering scholarships to players not yet in high school. I will go on sides. Alrighty, we'll cut it there. I think for timing purposes, we only got about 40 seconds left. But Fun show today. Big thanks to Stu. Big thanks to Moist Mike as well. And a big thanks to Kadre Ismail for joining us to talk a little bit about the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson and John Harbaugh, with all those comments being the majority of the show. We will be back mañana. Only 2 more shows for you this week. I am taking some summer vacation again on Thursday, so I'll be off Thursday, Friday, and then Monday. But that's how they say it in Philly. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So sometimes that does come out with the 7 years I lived in Philadelphia. But we will be here tomorrow and Wednesday, long story short. So we'll have some fun shows over the next 2 days. A lot of college football, a lot of NFL, all that jazz as well. Alrighty, we will talk to you tomorrow. Mañana. Kind of combining those at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. Have a great, safe night, everybody. We out. Bye-bye. Peace.